pork and beans. Oh, I don't care if the grease ain't burning. I don't care if the food ain't free. I don't care when your ass starts to cooking. I got me a plate of pork and beans. I got me a plate of pork and beans. I got me a plate of pork and beans. I got me a plate of pork and beans. I got me a plate of pork and beans.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, citizens of planet Earth and beyond, stretching far off into the galaxy, as far as your mind's eye and your imagination can take you. Welcome to the Pork and Bean Show, starring Pork Cunningham and Frank Oliver Baines. We're going to introduce you to new thoughts, put questions in your head, and consider things you've never considered before. Where the paranormal becomes the normal, where unreal becomes real, and where love is everything. Fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride.
Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Whatever
Yeah.
kind of intro, I have no idea what you got planned. I'm sure it's something devious and diabolical.
It is.
Do you have your pants on, for God's sakes?
No.
Yeah. See?
I know he's got a bathrobe on.
That's his Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner.
I need the pipe. I need the smoking pipe.
Brian, you need a Playboy magazine.
What? You mean I should
Then
be
you'd
in a
be truly Hugh Hefner.
Okay. Okay.
Warren, Linda, Joe, and
I'm just going to put Pork and Bean Show because I don't know if they're even going to come on.
how could our guests be unreliable to show up at the most unreliable show that there is on the internet? The gall of them being more unreliable than we are. How could that be?
That's terrible, Mike.
We take pride in being unreliable. You know, we take pride.
Mike,
I mean, we
where's
can't.
your background?
Huh?
You're supposed to be in space.
I don't know if I like that. I'll try it. So,
I can't. I wish I could do it. That'd be nice.
You can't do it.
if I do it, it looks fun. See?
Won't let you.
Oh, okay. We're live on the Pork and Bean Show. So do you want to start putting us live in some other ones there?
I have the cosmic hat. You live on Pork and Bean Show?
Look at
Yeah.
his mustache is in space.
My mustache, but my head is in space.
Your beard and your mustache is in
That's
space.
My space. What do you call it? My space hat.
Oh wow, your hat! Like when you put it down, you see
How do you do
Earth.
that?
I see.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, we take pride in being unreliable and unorganized, and we can't even do that as good as people. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Look at him.
You can't say anything bad about Linda Jo Free because she's tough. She's got a comeback, and so I have to be on my best behavior. She'll put me in my place. She's done it before.
Mike looks like he's in the Matrix.
Oh, really?
I'm in the Matrix. Look,
Do you want to?
Yeah, remember the show? And that thing, it spreads all over his face?
Yeah. Do you want to tell us that story?
Hmm?
Do you want to tell us that story, how you got put in your place, Mr. Beans?
Yeah, I was I had Barry and Linda Jo on a podcast that I was doing, right? I had them on as guests because I thought that was just outstanding.
Here's Linda Jo.
Linda Jo Free.
She's on. Just coming.
Oh, good. Yay.
She is coming on. I was thinking, she's not the one who jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge, is she? Just put that song?
No.
Who?
Oh, that was Bobby Joe. That was Bobby Joe. All right.
Billy Joe. Billy Joe.
Was it Billy
No,
Bobby
so
Joe? Well, wait a minute. Now
No,
she's
Billy
gone now.
Joe.
Oh.
So I had them on.
What? Billy Joel jumped off the bridge? Billy
Yeah.
Joel?
Billy Joe. Billy Joe.
Billy Joe.
Oh,
Joe.
not Billy Joel. Okay. That's
So I'm not gonna
another
tell
guy.
you this story. I'm not going to tell you this story of being humiliated. I know you're gonna
What's going
value
on,
that.
Barry? Okay, here's Barry. Here's Barry.
Hey,
But
Barry.
Billy, I don't know where Billy Joel is.
It's not Billy Joel
Joe?
is the singer. Not it.
Billy Joe is a special guest star.
You're gonna get in trouble. I tell you.
Hey, Michael, am I on today?
I hear you, man. Yeah, you're up and coming.
I mean, Michael, when am I scheduled?
You're scheduled. You're scheduled right now. We're just talking. We're just getting warmed up.
I didn't hear you.
Can you
They're trying to get the show going.
oh,
That's the hardest part of this show is to try to get it going.
so
But
you can't hear us talk?
where's Billy? Where's Billy Joe? Billy Joel? Linda Joel. Who is it? Linda Joe?
Linda Jo. J-O.
Don't forget your second wind, Mike.
Make sure it's down or downstream too, or down when you have that second win. Hey Barry, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good.
Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you raise your camera up so we can see your whole head?
Your head cut in half.
Half your head's cut in half.
You gotta tilt your screen a little
Just
bit.
tilt it.
Oh, okay.
More.
Uh,
Just a little more.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. Okay, so where's
I don't know how Brian can handle this. We have two handsome men. Two handsome men. We're so pretty, you know. How can you handle even being on the show with beautiful?
Mike, you should be a model.
I know.
you're one of the beautiful people.
I'm the beautiful talk show host. We got got Beauty and the Beast.
Well, where's Barry? And where's Linda? Is it Billy Joel? Or who?
Billy Joe.
She is going to give you such a spanking, man. I'm telling you. You better not make fun.
I just messaged her. I think she's going to join us here shortly.
So here's what you do.
Sorry, I just lost my volume. Go ahead.
Here's what you do. You start the show.
It is going.
You say, and here's my beautiful, most beautiful guest host, pork and beans, and Frank Oliver Beans, and I'm Pork Cunningham, and this is the Pork and Beans Show. That's what you say. That's how you start it, right?
No, well, it's going to be a little different today because you were a bad boy.
You guys should have dramatic music when you first start.
Oh well, we put that in the
on the YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, so let's. I guess we won't even bother. Oh, there's Linda, Joe. I hope nobody says I called her Billy Joel. Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
I won't.
I might get away. I might get away with it. Well, there she is. Okay.
You better not call her Billy Joe. I'll tell you what.
Billy, I said Billy Joel. I'm not gonna say. I know better. I know better.
Well, she heard everything. She's probably listening to the show.
Uh-oh. Well, then I got some explaining to do.
Oh, shit.
I don't care if the streets ain't burning. I don't care if the food ain't free. I don't care when your ass on the cooking. I got me play the poke and bean. I got me play the poke and bean.
What'd I do there?
Come on down with your big mashed potato. Come on down with your mama bread. Come on down, sit your ass at the table. I got me ready to poke and bean. I got me ready to poke and bean.
Okay, I think we're all. I don't know why you played that. So what am I going to do on the YouTube video now? Because I played that for the introduction on the YouTube video. This is going to be like.
How you do it? It's called cut and paste. You cut that part out and put the real part in it. See, it's cut and paste. That's how you do it.
Oh, is that how you do it?
This, and then you stick it together. But because we had
so I'll tell you what.
Our most honored, guest, Pat, wanted to hear some music, and I was complying because I care about our listeners.
Since when? That's not what you told me just before airtime.
I do care. I'm a caring person.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's start the show, and I'm not going to take anybody off because I don't want any more technical difficulties. So we're just going to do a little introduction, a little short one today, and then we're going to get right down and introduce our guests. So, hello, everybody. This is Pork Cunningham. I'm here with my nefarious co-host and traitor,
the most
Frank Oliver Beans.
One.
And the reason I'm calling you that, Frank, is because you tried to cut our show down to half an hour. You see, it already would have been over.
Well, that's good. Then we could.
If you had it on that, the show would have already ended before it started.
The show should last all night.
So
24-hour day pork and
anyway,
beans.
so I wanted to actually put you to work today, Frank. You don't really, get you to actually do something on the show for once. So we're going to have a new segment here, and then we're going to get into our guest.
Okay.
Okay. This is called the righteous rant.
Right.
So what's on your mind? What's it doesn't have to be anything
Okay.
really. You can make it all up
I
too
have
if you
a
want.
joke.
No, righteous
Yeah,
rant.
that's my joke.
Oh
No?
no. Okay, go ahead.
Righteous rant about what?
Anything. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's bothering you, pissing you off, where
Pissing
you want to
off
get
is
on your
the
high.
show's not starting. We have people waiting for us to be entertained. We should be entertainers or truth seekers or some kind of something like that. That's why I'm mad. I'm
So you-
mad because we're not truth seekers enough. Is that
That's it?
what else do you want?
Why did you just say something deep and powerful and like?
Well, you're gonna
I
ask
don't
me
know.
to do a rant, then I do it, and then you criticize it. Don't do that. You give a rant. You
Okay.
give a righteous rant.
No, it's the nefarious Frank Oliver Beans
There's
righteous
bad
rant
people in
segment.
the
But
world, and
okay,
don't let them get under your skin. That's my yeah. How about that?
that's a good one. That's a good
Never
one.
let them see
Okay,
sweat.
let's not be rude now. So let's introduce our guests. We got Pat McRae sitting in helping us. Are you going to do some questions there, Pat?
Yeah, if I can.
You can monitor the chat room and whatever.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see. Yeah, I think I can. Do you see me on
Okay.
video?
Anyway,
So
No.
unfortunately,
today is like the most special, the best show that we've ever done. It's got two of my favorite people on there. We got Barry Webster and Linda Jo Free, and they have had literally years of experiences, and combined they've had hundreds of sightings between the two of them, and Einstein and every kind of thing. And some of these stories have
Yep.
never been told before. And people need to know the depth and quality of experiences that you can have. And one of the things
Yep.
that made Barry and Rez squatching research so powerful is that he would always start off every time he goes into the woods with a prayer. So let's ask him to keep that tradition going and give us a prayer today to start the show. Do you feel good about that, Barry? If you wanted to do that.
Sure, I have no problem. You ready?
Yeah, it shows yours.
All right. Our Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for this day and grateful for all our blessings. And at this time, I ask you to bless us that the Spirit may be with us and that you may inspire us and bless this show and the people, the host, the guests. And again, we're grateful for the gospel in our lives, and we say this humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Hey, Linda Jo, how are you?
I'm up. I still got some chores to do. I got some horses to feed.
So, Mr. Beans, tell us about the time that you got in trouble with Linda Jo. You said.
Yeah, she made fun of me because I was calling the res squatching. I call it by the wrong name, and she made fun of me that, oh, you can't even get the name right. You thought that we were gonna mess up. You're the one who messed up. I remember that. So you gotta be straight with her. So
You got to be on your game, eh?
you gotta be on
Okay.
your game. Yeah.
So
No
you got your
disrespect.
yeah. Well, absolutely. Especially I mean we like to have fun, but once it gets down to talking about the Sasquatch and stuff, there's no disrespect. That's the main rule in my mind. That an open heart. But so you guys are brother and sister. When did you guys have your first experiences with Sasquatch? Or when?
I'll let Linda answer that one.
Yep.
Mine has been when I was a young lady, growing up down west of Macy, where Barry's located at, and just being a child, running around the woods, the timbers, and just usual stuff, playing hide and seek, exploring, tag, everything. So that's when I had my first experience with a juvenile. And I thought it was my sister when we were playing hide and seek, and I went around that tree. Well, I ran over there, and behind that tree was a juvenile. I shrugged my shoulders and think nothing of it. We're kids, age 5, 6, and 7. So I told my brother, let's go back to the house. Maybe Jonita went back over there. So we went back to the house, and there was my little sister sitting there munching away. So that's my first experience of seeing them.
Wow. 5 or 6, eh?
Yeah, I was a 7-year-old. My brother and sisters were 5 and 6. I'm 58 now.
Yep. And how would you say? How would you describe your personal connection with the Sasquatch people today?
I'll let Barry answer that with down here where I live with my husband. Go ahead, Barry.
I guess if I'm understanding the question right, how would you describe the relationship? Is that what you said?
Yeah, with the Sasquatch as of now. How has it developed? What is your relationship with them? Like, is it a spiritual one? Like, how do you?
Yeah, I would have to say that it's definitely spiritual. It's sort of, I guess my best description is it's like a friendship built on trust and respect,
And faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And faith in God up above.
Yeah. So the Sasquatch people they teach. You consider them to be teachers, I assume. They've taught you many lessons and whatever, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And at the same time, I think people will say they're curious, but I think they're also looking for something from us. And that is, I believe this wholeheartedly that they're looking for, that blessing also from us.
What do you think that is?
Well, I think they get myself all mixed up here, but I think they love prayer from people who are humble.
Yes, I agree with that. I wanted to mention that, like I'm very respectful of ceremonies, especially First Nations ceremonies and anybody's ceremony. But I've done some fire ring stuff with a First Nations friend of mine up here, the guy who first kind of took me out in the woods and whatever, and they do love that. The interaction after you do like smudging and a rock ring, smoke with a feather kind of thing and that kind of stuff. Quite often brings on amazing connection and magical stuff starts happening. But I've always said I wonder what you guys think of this. Now I respect all the traditions and whatever, obviously, but I think that every tradition and ceremony it had to have a start. Somebody had to start it, and so I think that the main thing about ceremony is your intent in your heart, right? I think. Because how do you start a ceremony in a tradition that's how you do it with a good heart and your intentions or whatever. And so it's kind of like if your heart and your intentions are good, it's sort of like the birth is what the definition of a ceremony is. And and that kind of thing. So what do you think of that? Do you think it's your intention is more important than or not more important, but I think it's a very crucial. What do you think of that?
I believe it's important because your good intentions with your heart, mind, and spirit. Because that's when I pray, say a word of prayer. That's what I include for all God's creation for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're blue, green, yellow. I mean, your intentions are good. So when you do use like our ceremonial, if they feel that good intention, then yes, of course it's a blessing because that's all their same thought processes as ours because they're people just like us.
Yeah. No, that's what I find too. I think too. So the Sasquatch and whatever mind speak with you and teach you and stuff and whatever. Is that correct?
Look,
Okay, so this is a very respectful question because I believe in Jesus Christ myself. I may have a little different spin on it, but I do believe in him. But the traditional Christians say that, like for instance, any other voice or any other teacher or whatever is not good. It's so how do you reconcile that? How do you know what I mean? If they're teaching you stuff and whatever, how do you reconcile that with the Christian religion?
Barry.
I'm being very respectful of that. I'm just wondering because I know. Anyway, go ahead. What do you think, Barry?
So I'm trying to, process your question because I kind of, even though that's a great question, and you're kind of taking me down a road that maybe I haven't, and I don't want to say I didn't put much thought into it, but I'm gonna go back to, that I know without a doubt that they're looking for that spiritual connection through prayer. And so back to your question, I believe this, that I don't know, let me think about that a little more. All right. I don't want to say something.
Yep. No, that's fine. Did you want to say something, Linda Joe?
Okay, with your question, you were asking, with all this, go ahead, repeat it to me one more time, please.
Okay. Well, some Christian people will say, well, any voice that you hear, any kind of spiritual teacher other than Christ is blasphemy, and you're not supposed to listen to it. But as we know, because we have a connection with the Sasquatch, where they're loving energy and whatever, there's, in my opinion, well, from my experience, there's just no question that it's from a good, loving, spiritual source. So how do you reconcile that as far as the opinion of what some people say and what your experiences are? And Barry's got his hand up. Go ahead, Barry.
Can I
go for it?
All right. I was busy this morning and I didn't get breakfast, so you got to excuse me a little bit. I'm going low blood pressure right
sharper when you don't get breakfast. That's all right.
Let me try and answer that because I had a friend tell me he's a good man, a very spiritual man, and I hold him in high regard. He told me one time, and he cautioned me. He says, he wanted to know what I was doing. What's all the big hoopla around what you do? Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, your volume's kind of low there. I don't know if you can fix it or not, but at the bottom left of the screen, where it says mute and a little microphone, you might be able to go in there and turn and boost it up.
Well, I'm deaf and I can hear him pretty good, but
I could hear him pretty good too because outside it was windy outside. I came in to get some coffee.
Oh,
you're not that.
well, maybe it's
Yeah,
because
go
maybe
ahead.
I'm retarded.
Can't help you there.
Wait a minute. You're not allowed to say that.
How much time? I got it fixed. I think I got my speaker turned down.
I'm gonna report you to the Facebook politically correct police. You said a bad word.
What?
He's mentally handicapped.
You're mentally challenged. You can't say the R word.
I'm retarded.
No, you can't say that.
Just because you associate it with, Down syndrome,
Okay,
doesn't mean that's what I'm
let's
talking
get
about.
back to the question, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. She is tough. She is tough. You're right. Okay, go ahead, Barry.
Slide by.
Go ahead, Barry.
Let me start by saying my friend told me one time, he said, Barry, never allow any other source to defray you or to get you off track of moving the Lord's work forward, and when I say that, I think most people know by now that I too believe in Jesus Christ, and I know that we have a Father in heaven, which is God. But he encouraged me one time. He says, Barry, he said, and I think he was implying that don't let this SASQUATCHing, as he called it, this squatching, take you away from, your spiritual side. And I had to let him finish because I respect him. And but I had to maybe remind him at that time that, listen, this was still about God, because I've said it time and time again to different podcasts, to different interviews, that why didn't anybody ask God? Everybody's theorizing and trying to play the hero, when all I ever did is said, you know what, I'm gonna use the teachings of our forefathers and our ancestors, and then I'm gonna ask God. And I think humbly the rest speaks for itself. So how does that mesh? It meshes perfectly with me, and I think our team, we use God. We didn't exclude him. We didn't use another source. I don't believe in that. And this is strictly about God. And I think which leads me to another point, and I don't want to get off. Hopefully I answered that, but I think I was blown away one time when I was told that while I was praying, there was an angel hugging me.
Oh man, that was so beautiful.
Tell that story, because I believe you.
I'll let Linda tell the story because she witnessed the whole thing up close.
Does somebody have something playing in the background? Because I'm hearing a bunch of noise.
Cat in the background. Sister's cat.
Oh, I'm hearing talking. Oh well, go ahead. Don't worry about it. Go ahead. I'll survive. Go ahead, Linda.
Loud, but it's not like it was before for some reason.
Well, that was Barry's background noise because his house is alive with, they're doing breakfast, they're getting up, moving around. They're doing their daily routine. So that's probably the background noise, other than my cat fighting over here. But we were out, we enjoyed ourselves, laughed around, then we got serious and we started doing what we do. He led with a word of prayer. We did introductions. We did our talking and, interactions that we had. And then we were going to call it for the night and go on to another hot spot. And as Barry was ending with a word of prayer in that spot, and let it was right where I grew up at, well, a mile or so down the road. I just happened to look up because I'm always standing at the back to make sure that we all stay within a group. Don't let nobody wander off. And so I just looked up and I seen Barry, and then there was just this white light over there. It was so bright, but didn't hurt my eyes. So I put my head back down and I start praying some more right along with him in a different prayer. And then when I looked up again, there was a gentleman standing next to Barry while he had his head bowed and he was praying, had his left arm over his shoulder and had his head bowed while Barry was in prayer. And you could see the white robes, you can see the hair, you can see the features of the face. And at the same time, I closed my eyes and I start praying again. And then when I opened my eyes, I seen my shadow on the ground. I was like, this is pitch dark out here. How is it that I'm throwing a shadow? And that's when I realized there's a ball of light behind me. There's light source of some type. So when I turned and looked to my left and looked up, I seen these huge wings. I mean, it was the brightest light you could ever see, but it didn't hurt my eyes. And then when I looked towards Barry, that gentleman was still standing there with his left arm over Barry's shoulders while he was still praying. But I could see this angel up above me, probably about 10 feet above me, and it was so huge. It was beautiful. And the light dissipated after that because I don't think I was meant to see it because, and then I turned and looked at Barry, and the person standing next to him as Barry was ending his prayer, the person was dissipating. He was disappearing. And I was just blown away. I was just, the humble feeling that you felt brought you to tears, but they were happy tears. I don't know if you guys can understand something of that sort, but
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you were in the presence of the Lord, of his son, Holy Spirit, everything was there. And with the compassion that he prayed with, and to be so humble and such a pitiful person that we are, all of us. I'm not saying just one person out of us, but he was so humble with his prayer, and it felt so good listening to him. Oh man, that night was an experience. I mean, Barry and I went down there once before prior to this, and there was a ball of light there. Do you remember that, Barry?
Yeah.
And the ladies that were in the car behind us didn't see it at all. But Barry and I, they seen us pointing up to the light, but I said, he said, you see that? You see that? I said, yeah, do you see that? We were both saying it together, and there was this huge ball of light right above us between our cars. And the ladies seen us pointing, but they didn't see it at all.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it just hummed a little bit and disappeared. And that's the same thing as when we were all standing there. I think there was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, 5 of us there. When this gentleman was you guys can make out who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it because that's for you guys to understand. And those of us that was there that seen it, the other 4 while he was praying, it was such a beautiful thing. I mean, I was close to tears. I mean, happy tears. That's how I felt. And then I felt uplifted so much. And the prayer that my brother Barry had offered was so beautiful. I mean, I sit in prayer right along with him, and I do my best just to keep that same thought process in my heart, mind, and spirit. To don't go out there with bad feelings. Don't go out there drunk, high, or whatever. Do your best to prep and be ready. You never know when anything will happen out there. Am I correct, brother?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not comparing the Sasquatch to Jesus, so don't get me wrong. But I felt the Sasquatch's energy when they're sending me the love energy, and I instantly burst into tears. And the love and the knowing and that universal connection feeling is just, oh my God. So, but I don't know if it's similar, but the other thing is an interesting point, Linda, that you made is, I've experienced that with Sasquatch too. Is that I don't hear very well, but I'm with my First Nations friend up here. Sometimes I'll hear something really loud or whatever, and he won't hear it, or him and I will hear something, and there'll be other people there that don't hear it or don't experience it, so they can. It
was just meant for you guys. That's why.
Right. I mean, but they can. give an auditory or a visual thing to just one person and not the other or whatever. So it's, you know, in real time or so, well, real time is kind of like a funny word, real time. I'm not, as far as with them, I don't know how that applies, but in real time and in our understanding of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Linda,
Yeah.
could you put this in a time and a place for the viewers? You all been doing this more or less for 11 years. So was it a winter and summer, and was it the early years or was it the later time? You know, kind of put it in like a ballpark of, because you've been doing this praying every time you go out, and since you go out 2 or 3 times a week, that's a lot of praying and a lot of. So, could you kind of tell you when this all happened?
This was probably what, brother, it was October. It was kind of cool. We had to wear jackets, remember?
Yeah.
But it was cool enough to where we could put the lawn chairs out, and we were sitting in lawn chairs acting silly, talking crazy, teasing each other, laughing, and then Barry calls us together and, you know, gets us into a focal point, and then we start. But this probably had to be, would you say, Barry, 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And it was west of Macy. Probably we live just outside the school district, so probably about, I don't know, 6 miles out, but out in the country. So it was right around then, about late September, early August. No, October, early October. But yeah, that's what it was, because we were sitting in lawn chairs, had my archery chairs out. We were all laughing about those, and then yeah, we had light jackets on. It wasn't winter yet. It was
So
beautiful.
what year, in terms of like you started 11 years ago, or like was it early, the first few years, or was it later on, just recently?
It's just recent, because I didn't come on to the team until when, Barry, 3 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Because I called Barry out here for a situation that I was having on our property where I live. Cheeto, knock it off. I got a mama cat here. She's just, yep. I had a situation out here to our property where I live, and I wanted Barry and Derek to check it out. And that's when they got to witness a lot of things down here. But Barry's been doing this a lot longer, whereas I've known they've been around because I've been here 31 years on this property, and catch glimpses, you see them. A lot of trees are down. Like I got a tree down over there right now in the yard. So Barry's the one that's been out searching, doing research longer. Me, I just jumped on the team 3 years ago, whereas even though we have activity out here, we keep it quiet because I don't want a lot of people down here. Well, we come to, no, you need to leave.
I think this story is historic, okay? People need to know. You know, you do your prayers for years and years. You have a spiritual respect and love in your heart, and then you have these things happen, okay? It's not monsters trying to throw rocks at you. This is the other side of what's going on when your heart is pure. This is not the only time that something happened when Barry was praying. Can you remember the story about where there was, I think it was just 3 or 4 of you, and Barry was praying, and you saw that his whole self looked like he was disappearing? Can you tell that story?
That was in the same spot. I think the snow flew then, right, Barry? It was me, you, and Marcella.
Yeah, we were into January, I think. January, February.
Yeah. No, it was just recent also. And we were out there at the same spot, and I believe we were trying to show Marcella, wasn't we, Barry?
I think so.
and we were talking about the white ball of light that Barry and I seen and nobody else could see. And it was just, we were trying, we got out, she stuck by the truck. So I was torn between standing by my brother and then staying with her. So I was just kind of in between them while she leaned against the truck, and Barry was standing there talking. And we were doing our interactions. We were getting eye shine. We were getting wood knocks. We were getting some grumbling. I don't call them growls. They're, because if a growl, you know what a growl is. But this one here is just like, verbal acknowledgement, I guess you would call it. But Barry was standing there, and all of a sudden his voice changed. It got really deep. And I happened to look up at him over there, but I was keeping an eye on her back here. And so I put my head down and I started to pray. And Barry, you want me to go through the whole?
Go ahead.
Barry was standing there, and all of a sudden his voice changed. It got really deep. And I happened to look up at him over there, but I was keeping an eye on her back here. And so I put my head down and I started to pray. And Barry, you want me to go through the whole?
Yeah.
Yeah, go through the whole thing. We got plenty of time.
Okay. Anyways, so what happened there was that I started to pray, and Barry started talking different. He don't talk to me like that. He's not disrespectful. He's a really good person in his heart, mind, and spirit. I think that's why him and I made a really good connection. Because he grumbled at me and in a really deep voice, and are you going to be afraid if I show myself to you? And I just looked at him out of my prayer, and I just looked back towards Marcella by the truck, and by then she got into the back seat of the truck. And so I walked towards Barry, and then I stopped, because I just now noticed, rather than look at his head, look at his shoulders and head and look at his facial expressions to speak with him, half his body started from his legs first. His calves from down were gone, but he was still standing there. And as I start walking towards him some more, it moved up even farther, up to his hips. And then pretty soon it was up to his chest. I watched as it moved from his hips to his chest, and his body started disappearing. And he kept asking me, are you going to be afraid if I show myself to you? And you guys do not need to pray. We are people like you. We're not gods. And he was just grumbling at me. But I could imagine, that's how they speak. So I didn't take it as offense, but it just threw me aback a little bit and surprised the heck out of me. And it just stopped right between his shoulders and up underneath his jawline, because I could see part of his neck and his head. And then I started praying. I asked for God for his healing white light of protection around him, protect him, bring him back to us in a good form, good heart, good mind, good spirit. And that's how I was praying, and protect him, keep him safe. And then all of a sudden I looked up, and there he is, head to foot. He's standing there. And when he asked the questions and stuff, I thought about her, and I wanted to see so badly. But see, I've seen him around here a lot, but not up close as Barry has seen him. I wanted to see them, but I lied, and I said, no, I'll be scared. Yes, I'm going to be scared. And she said it right off, real fast. And I thought, well, if they show themselves, how is she going to be mentally? Am I going to be unsafe with her around, and we going to hurt her? So I just told them, yeah, I'm going to be scared. And that's when Barry appeared again. And he was exhausted. He was very tired. And I walked over to him. I said, you all right? Are you okay? And he said, yeah, I'm fine. And he kind of staggered around a little bit. And I could imagine, that's using his energy to speak to us, and using his form, his bodily functions and everything to, talk to us or talk at me, or I don't know. But that was something to behold, man. I just could not believe it. Some of the things that, happen with us being out there is just totally, I don't know what people would do, if they would
Yeah.
run, they'd cry, or they'd get scared, or if they accept it. I don't know what they would do, but my faith in God and His Son and the Holy Spirit and prayer, faith, that's what's kept me strong, and it's kept me grounded and in awe of the things that my brother can do and his interactions with them.
Well, because he's going from his heart, I think.
Exactly.
Let me,
There's another
Yeah.
story that I have. A friend of mine named Jan Weiss. She's passed on now, but she has one of those people who could communicate with animals and have mind speak. And the Sasquatch, and so she got involved with the Sasquatch people, and for many years. And then she had a group of people who wanted to feel the Sasquatch, right? And so the Sasquatch worked with her, and they had this little hill there. And this lady was pretty old and sick, but so they would send people up this hill, and there would be a Sasquatch standing on either side of them, so they could feel the Sasquatch energy. And so everybody went up, and then the last one that went up was Jan Weiss. Now, Jan Weiss had bad heart and things like that. So everybody was feeling the Sasquatch. They were invisible, but they could feel it, right? So when Jan Weiss walked up the hill, and she had been in a relationship with the Sasquatch for a long time, because she had a bad heart and she was feeble, the Sasquatch helped her. So they had one Sasquatch on one side of her and one Sasquatch on the other side of her. And then the whole group of people saw her walking up the hill and just disappear. And then a few minutes later, she walked back down the hill and reappeared. So that this is, I just wanted to add that in, because this is part of a teaching. I think this teaching of this going invisible, and then coming back when you're in that close contact and you're in a good connection with the Sasquatch people. I thought I would toss that in there.
We got a question from the Pork and Beans Peanut Gallery, and it's addressed to Barry, and actually it's from Cindy Lurrett, and I was going to ask you this actually too, Barry. So what did you experience in that moment when you were going invisible? What was your experience?
I was just going to elaborate more on that. In retrospect, prior to arriving at this hot spot, or the location we were at, Marcella and Linda were talking, and it's not something I shouldn't say that either, but there was a question that I think Marcella had, as I'm thinking back on this experience. There was a mention of, I prayed to them, and I remember feeling compelled to get out and talk to them. Right after that, it was just a strong feeling as we arrived at that hot spot, I call it. And it was colder than, it was pretty chilly out too. But
it was foggy, remember?
That?
Remember it was real foggy out?
Yeah. And I guess what was I experiencing? A lot of times, I think, and I don't think, but I know that if here's something, a scripture that I always remind myself, and forgive me for not remembering verbatim, but it says, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask in faith and upbraideth not. And so that's always a reminder to me. But I remember feeling compelled that they wanted me to tell Marcella and Linda that don't worship me.
Yep, that's right. Because I remember Marcella asking that question.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Don't worship me, we're under God just like you. That was the strong, and to this day, I have to tell you, you know, people will talk about telepathic communication. I can tell you that I went into maybe, and as I look back, I went into another dimension because I don't remember talking that firm to Linda, and all I remember was talking through them because they were down in the creek bed area, which was about a 12-foot drop, maybe, Linda.
Oh, it's more because here at the house it's 15.
Okay, and
so it's probably about a good 20 foot down here.
So I had this strong, the Holy Spirit obviously intervened. So I was gone, you know, from my body now that I look back, because I never felt this feeling like to just walk away from where I was at. It's like I don't know, even when I got done, you know, praying, it's like my body dropped and I had to catch myself. And Linda, if you remember, I was bawling like crazy when I walked.
You were. I didn't want to say anything. I figured that's for you to say.
Yeah, but I was bawling happy, humble tears. And, you know, I'll be the first to tell you that I never knew those things would happen. I'm a simple man. I try my best. So everything, you know, that we're saying was never, you know, I never knew that we would experience all that. But I can tell you that it was very spiritual. It was a very spiritual feeling. And I've learned so much through that. And so I don't want to sound like I'm getting carried away, but I love the question because, you know, I don't think that I've ever been able to really elaborate, you know, on that encounter with those deeper feelings and emotions that I experienced. But I believe that I truly spoke through them and that I went into another dimension and spoke through them to Linda and them. Because didn't you guys learn something, Linda?
I think that you went their way and they came over here. You guys just like swapped. And when you told you know, talked to me and you told me we're nobody. Oh, that just broke my heart. But you explained it later as you came when we got ourselves together and stuff. It was that we're not gods. We're just people like you. Remember how we spoke about it when we drove away?
Yeah.
The angels would say the same thing. Just because they're not gods doesn't mean they're not very, very high beings. The angels would tell you the same thing. Don't worship us. And yet they have great powers. That's a lot of something to think about with this, with the Sasquatch. They have great powers, but they're also very humble.
Yes, they are.
Now, were they talking through you, Barry, or you were talking through them? He was in you, right? Talking through you?
They were talking through him because Barry don't talk to me like that. He doesn't growl at me. He don't hush me. He don't tell me to be quiet and stuff because that's rude in our culture.
Yeah.
But because I kept asking if he's all right. Are you okay? And I got hushed. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna get to this story before I lose my train of thought. And
go for it.
I know you had a question there, Brian, but I love the way you tell that story. And I sorted it out in my own mind about how I rated some of my experiences, and the juvenile, I think, soared to number 1. And would you care to elaborate on that with these folks? Because I think outside of, you know, speaking with a lot of people, and that juvenile being 4 feet from me was just blows my mind today. And
Blows mine too. It's just unreal, man.
go ahead, Linda.
Oh, shucks. I can't get comfortable on my back porch. Sorry, guys. There was just 3 of us. There was myself, my brother Barry, my sister Angel. We went up to a different hot spot and we pulled in. We were sitting there listening and we shut the lights off and stuff and we had the windows down a little bit. And you could see the eye shine all around and they start coming closer and closer. Then I looked at Barry and he goes, "Shall we get out?" And I said, "Yeah." So we all start getting out. I poured my water out, put down some tobacco, and then what fruit I brought, I set it down. And so we went to the front of my truck because we were pulled in, but we didn't drive down in that lane. And as he got up in front of the truck, we were leaning against it, and he was talking, and you could see them moving closer to us by the eye shine. It was so dark in them timbers. And we did our interactions, our introductions, everything. Word of prayer at the start, and then Barry said, "Shall we call it for the night?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, let's offer a word of prayer, and then we'll go." I said, "All right." So he walked up a little farther, and I told Angel, I said, "We got to keep up with him. Don't let him walk off by himself." And so we walked up behind him, and I continued to pray as he started his prayer. And he started praying, and I looked up, and I looked all around me, and you could see them coming in closer, but they didn't come in aggressively fast. They just came in slowly and just, sat back a little bit. And I seen movement, and I looked up, and you could see something in the tree, and I was looking at the tree, and I was like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? And so I kind of looked around, and I could see the eye shine, but the eye shine was light blue, light yellow. I did not see no red, no orange. Anyways, I seen some green. There was eye shine to the left of me by my truck. And when I looked up again, that little form sitting up there start moving down the branch. And as it was moving down the branch, and that's where it was going towards Barry in front of us, he was standing there, his head bowed, his hands folded in front of him. And he was praying. But this little guy looked up again, and he started inching down closer and closer to where I just still wonder to this day if Barry had put his arms out like this, if that little man would have jumped down in his arms. That's how close that baby came to him. But he looked around. Wow. Nobody came moving in fast on us or anything. I could imagine they would have been there in a split second, man, lightning speed. But Barry was in the middle of praying. And we were calling it for the night, so we were offering a word of prayer, safety, and that's how I pray. And that little guy, he was just hanging on a branch from his weight, just brought that branch down closer to him. Go ahead, Barry.
That's a real beautiful trust that the elder ones, the parents had to let that baby come that close to you. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the breakfast in still.
That's no problem.
Tell them about the eyes of the baby. So the light was coming out of their eyes that you saw. That I think is really, really important, because a lot of people think they get confused with eye shine and eye reflection. When their light's coming out of their eye, that's a teaching.
Yeah.
They're young like that. They're unable to control that. It is what I found, because I was sitting here on my back porch and I was looking up, and it just kind of blew me away a little bit when I looked at that tree out there. I seen that little head, and all of a sudden it reminded me of the Iron Man mask. You know how his eyes would shine out like that? That's what it kind of, it wasn't disturbing, but it took me by surprise. And that's the way it was with that little guy, because his eyes were, what I seen was a light blue to a white, and then light blue again, and then they'd stop shining. But they were directly focused on Barry while he was praying, and he was just hand over hand, just going down that branch. Stop a little bit. Barry, are you ready to answer for the eye shine that was looking right at you when you looked up?
Yeah, it was every bit, Ishake's, offspring. In fact, moving ahead, I watched that guy grow up now. That same one that came down to see me.
Wow.
I
Yep.
interact with him in one of the hot spots. I think again, giving credit to to God and through the Holy Spirit, that to me, was what I would have put right up there as the pinnacle of our journey. But more importantly, I if they're as strong as they appear to be based on the tree break and all that, I think the juvenile had an opportunity as you never think about that because you're in this moment, this spiritual moment. So not once did it occur to me to reach out and say, can I hold you? After the fact, we can talk about that, but it was truly about respect because I think, as I recall, he wanted to hear more of what I was saying because I don't think that's mentioned enough because somebody was speaking through me and that was the Holy Spirit. And I remember telling them, reminding them that Jesus is the Christ. Some things I can remember. Jesus is the Christ, and that I know why you're here. You're not here. You won't hurt us. So the things that I was saying resonate with them. And
Absolutely.
I'm inspired to say those things through the Holy Spirit. And I take no credit for any of this interaction. It was truly a spiritual experience. Now, imagine 4 feet. That's how close I was. And in my competitive spirit, I think all of you, if you see my timeline on Facebook, I love competition and I'm an avid horseshoe player. But in my competitive spirit, with 2 other witnesses, I don't need this attention. I didn't expect all this, but I think the lesson for all of us again is about God. Why didn't anybody ask God? And I'll always go back to that. At the same time, I haven't heard anybody else come that close. And that's a little bit of my competitive spirit coming out. God can do wonders. And I can tell you that if I maybe wanted to do that again, I couldn't because he's an adult now.
Yeah.
And I think Linda witnessed him come forward. Linda probably witnessed him as a young adult come forward many a times. Am I correct, Linda?
That's correct.
Yeah.
On the road. So anyway, I don't want to, continue to,
What's fascinating?
It was,
keep going. Yeah.
It was very special, and I'm, believe me, I'm truly humbled by all of it. I've had things happen that I could walk away from this, and believe me, there's times when I've told my sister, I told maybe my brother Derek that, I think I've reached a point where, I could go to my grave, and pass all these stories on to my grandsons and my grandchildren. that they exist, that through God, they're created by God.
Yep.
And they told me that. And, I guess don't treat it like, hey, let's go see a Bigfoot. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Get your camouflage on. That's the most disrespectful thing I think you can do, is if you treat it like a hunt. When it's really about God and humility.
There you go.
Having the first heart, because, again, if there's people locally listening, I've learned a long time ago in that the gospel of Jesus Christ has truly helped me resolve some of the mysteries of this life about forgiveness. And by no means does that make me perfect, because, I tell people, you punch me, I'm gonna punch you right back. I'm probably gonna whoop you, but I just want I say that because that's my human side. But I think that what has happened, my journey, our journey with Linda, and I'm gonna say this about my sister. There's been a lot that's happened with our group. But I can tell you that because of her humility and through her support, we've been able to get some answers, to this mystery about Sitonga. And so I'll quit there, guys. Yeah, I'll quit.
Yeah. Have you ever had one go inside of you? One time I had one go right inside of me, and it felt like a light switch went on. I could feel the energy. Like, first of all, we could smell them and hear them all around us walking. Then I felt one guy go inside of me, and it was like a light switch went on. He's checking me out, I guess, or whatever, really close.
Yeah.
That was a really weird, but it was like, it's weird because you can't, it's hard to say how you just have that knowing. It's hard to describe or to say how but that's what it felt like. He went inside of me, I could feel him inside of me, and it was like, switch.
I can't really, I can't really say that happened. What I will say is that I had a 20-minute encounter with what I've come to, I gave him the name of Ishage. And we looked at each other, face to face. And I can tell you that taught me a lot. But I do remember feeling this energy during that experience. And he taught me a lot. You wouldn't believe what that experience taught me. Now, I don't know if one ever came inside of me, but I will tell you this, that I've had them, just pop out of the brush and come straight at me and look at me, and there was a figure 8 one. That was right up there as one of my top 3. I can't, I've had some very spiritual experiences, but I can't really say that they came, they entered my body or but
yeah, but you know what, Barry, the thing is like, personally, I've had like so many experiences too, but I find that there's a lot of crossover experiences that people share, but there's also a lot of individuality as to how they teach us or whatever, so, or assist us or whatever. So, that makes perfect sense. It's not, I wasn't saying that, it's not a competitive thing or whatever. It's just like whatever they decide to do and how they want to interact with you is up to them, right? And what you're ready for in your heart and stuff. So
this whole conversation that we've just been having, I think of it in my mind, and you think of all the people who talk about monsters and swamp monster, mountain, all this kind of stuff, and all the hunters and the people who are what they call researchers. They don't see it this way. They don't see anything like that. And that reminds me of this quote. And the quote says, it was like a spiritual quote. It says, to when someone first sees God, they see God as a monster until they're made whole enough to see. And I think that's what really applies. Everybody's out there thinking about the woods monsters and all this kind of stuff, but if you're whole inside yourself and you're connected to God inside yourself, then you're going to see the beauty. You're going to see the majesty and the high spirituality of the Sasquatch people. You're not going to see a monster, you know. You're going to see from your heart, which is whole. And I think we're going to move that way. You're starting to hear more and more people talk about the spiritual side or the you know, the higher side of Sasquatch, and not, instead of just the monster trying to get me.
Yeah. So Barry, in your opinion, like, you know, for instance, I was talking to a guy in the woods the other day. I was in there looking at some of the structures and just, you know, connecting with my clan up here and feeling their energy and all that kind of beautiful stuff. And I started talking to this young guy with his border collie, and I just figured you know, he was in the place where they hang out, and he said he had been in there for like all his life. So I just asked him, "Have you ever had any Sasquatch experience this year?" And he didn't like look like he didn't believe me or whatever, but he didn't. It looked to me, it looked like he didn't even consider the question. And so, with that said, why do you think that they connect with some people and other people who are around them all the time or whatever they just don't even bother with? What are some of the things that you see as to why they connect with some individuals and not others?
You know, I've answered that question for myself a long time ago, and there's I think maybe the answer has already been, you know, talked about, but if I could hone in on that question, I within our within our church, I should say, and I don't want to make it sound like a code or anything. That's not even that's not even the point. But there, I hold, and I never thought I'd say this, I hold the Melchizedek priesthood, which is the highest authority which Jesus had, and that doesn't make me Jesus or anything, but I've become worthy to have that, you know, ordained. And for me anyway, I was told one time, and I've had some really good friends and good people say some really powerful things, you know, that are flattering. But I hold this gift to act in place of God here on earth, to give blessings and to comfort people through prayer, you know, with that, the priesthood. And I never thought I'd talk about that. So I kind of went against, you know, Brian, you got it out of me, but, you know, it makes people think out there, you know, I couldn't do it without that, you know, with God and that gift basically. And so for me, you know, I was told you're like a ball of light out there, Barry, and they come to see you. I don't have to, you know, I don't have to chase. People think you know, I've heard, or you go chase them or you go look. I don't. I think Linda can testify that, you know, our approach is based on prayer and respect, and then they show up. Am I right, Linda?
Right. That's right.
But when people tell you that, it's because they're looking at that from their perspective.
Cindy Lawrence said your mic's too loud, so maybe you.
Well, yeah, but you know, I thought we already.
You know, just if you could just turn it down.
No. Well, I saw that, but I mean, I already turned it way down, so I'm not sure why it's still so loud.
Just
Maybe
saying.
She needs to turn her media down.
my what?
She needs to probably turn her media down.
Um,
Or,
well, I'll look into it. I'll look into it while you guys are, but I wanted
But you guys all
to,
sound even to me. Nobody sounds
yeah,
louder than the other.
oh,
I don't know.
sounds
So,
loud, sounds loud to me.
Barry, I mean, I think, and from my understanding, the Sasquatch are, for me personally, they're here to introduce me to my true nature. I mean, they reside on a higher vibrational level. And, when you were talking about humility and whatever, I understand that, because when you're on their level of vibration or whatever, there is no judgment, and there is humility, and there's love, and the understanding of connection to God, the universe, and everything. So what you said totally resonates with me, because even with all the amazing experiences that you've had, that I've had, that we've all had, I think the humility is very, very obvious, and that's because that's where the Sasquatch reside. That's one of their teachings, is humility and no judgment. That's what I think that we people, one of the things we have to wrap our heads around. We also have to come together and and quit putting things in boxes and stuff. Like, I appreciate you guys talking, because it's just a beautiful. I really appreciate your words and your wisdom, and that you're talking openly about it, because that's what I feel that I have to do too. Because the Sasquatch people told me I represent them everywhere I go, and to me that means you have to be honorable, you have to be respectful, you have to be completely truthful, and it's like a complete honor, right?
Humbleness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, there's a nice comment from Sky. Where is it down here? Sky Peterson. She says, first she says, she says, "You rock, Michael." That's a good quote.
Who's Michael? Who's Michael?
The one who's talking now. And then it's been saying this is a beautiful conversation. And then somebody else up here says, Cindy Lawrence says, "Are we supposed to seek them out?" That's a good question. Are we supposed to seek them out? And that's how I put that one out there.
In my opinion, well, from my experience, they sought me out, because I was walking, and I'm going to, obviously, the guests, I want them to answer it more extensively, but just while we're on that, they sought me out. I think they know you, obviously, before you know them. And I was walking with my dogs along a river and whatever, and it was the first time I experienced anything like this. All of a sudden, I got a call to go to the mountains. It was like an energy feeling, and it was just like, after you've experienced it and gone through that many, many hundreds of times or whatever, you begin to understand it. But even at that initial time, I just knew it was like a calling to go to the mountains. And then right after that, then they started connecting me in with all these people, this First Nations fellow out here, Randy Brisson, who's taught me so much. And then I've connected to other people and and whatever. So I think they know the people they want to connect with, in my opinion.
Yep.
Linda Jo, anything you want to add to that?
Oh, I agree with you. I just said, yep. I have nothing to add to it.
So we know the Sasquatch people are on a different vibration or whatever, and that they're terrestrial, and they're probably also interdimensional. Well, they're also interdimensional beings, but they have like families. They have a regular life. I've seen them do like their structures at a certain time of year more than others. Their little stick writing, their glyphs. So you get to understand that they have a regular life too. But how do you see them, in your opinion? How do you see them? Who are they? What are they? How do they live? Are they more in this dimension? Are they more in how would you describe them and what they are?
Who are you talking to, me?
Where's Barry? Well, you can answer it, or Barry. I don't know.
Go ahead, Linda.
I think they're just, well, I know they're just people. They're people like you and I. They're
Right.
They have a life
Yeah.
just like you and I. They do their year-round. You know, I don't have much to say about it other than I just know that, you know, they have their area, their world, and ours. Ours is so negative. Why they're here, you know, I don't know, I just can't say much about it right now. Go ahead, Barry.
Again, I've been saving a lot of this for my grandsons, and hoping that one day they would continue this, on behalf of their grandpa. But I can tell you this, that that Linda challenged me one time to prove to her on who they were, and so we did that. But I don't doubt it one bit that they're here to serve their time for the second coming.
Yep.
God, you have to remember now, God created everything.
Mm-hmm.
Including Sitonga, and even the other planets, and even the UFO or the aliens. That's God's work, and we'll never understand that. And I can tell you this, that through whatever it was, telepathically, that they are here based on God's plan. And they fall under the same plan we do. So when the second coming, they will be judged right along with us.
Yep.
At the same time, God says it. It was written that that humans would mess with them, and they were talking about this day and age, and so God gave them these gifts, the vibration, or however Brian described it. He gave them these gifts so that we wouldn't be able to kill them or hunt them down, and so that's why they have these gifts. And I've been inspired through basically what telepathically or through the Holy Spirit, that's why they're here. And they again, even my ancestors all along have said that treat them with respect, speak umaha to them, and pray for them. And to this day, that's what I just followed the teachings of my elders, which I think we reconnected. And it's just a beautiful thing that my people, I was able to do that through our umaha teachings. And again, I'm just grateful.
Tell us about Muhaha teachings. Did I say that right? I've never heard that before. What's that all about?
Well,
I know it's probably too broad a question, but
well, it's umaha.
Umaha. Okay.
The name of our tribe.
Okay.
Most people spell it like the city of Omaha, but really it's the first letter is a U. Umaha.
Okay.
And so again, we hold them in high regard, and so I've always felt like that was the connection with First Nation people, because we respected them that way. And
How long? Sorry. How long is the history or the tradition or tradition might not be the right word. How long has, with your people, the relationship and the understanding with Sasquatch, has it gone centuries? Like, been like, you know?
I believe so. I believe.
Yeah.
I'd say the beginning of time. We've all worked and interchanged with them. It just, we've done many ceremonies, many things within our culture, our beliefs, right along with
Yeah.
them. And then as time has gone by and all these technologies, all these things of us, Cheeto? Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I think you were up. Go ahead. Finish the thought.
But, you know, we interacted with them for eons. I mean, forever and ever. And they were no different than, but with all of us being who we are and stuff, and going through the negative or trying this out or that out, you know, we just drifted away from them. And whereas there are some that still stay connected with them and know about them.
Well, up here in British Columbia, and I think in other places, the history has said that before the white settlers came in, that the First Nations people had I'm not going to say stronger, but a more like open relationship with the Sasquatch, and even in some cases traded with them and whatever. But you know, when Columbus and that bunch came in or whatever, like the negativity and lack of spiritualism and whatever, or respect or whatever, like kind of they went into the background, but now they're coming back out again because, as you know, these are very important times. You know, like with what you say the second more with just in our history as humans, it's we can all see with the events of the world going on and assist us. But I think the relationship at one time was much more open or whatever.
Ryan, I heard one of my elders tell me one time. He told me, he said, you know, we coexisted, and I like that word. And you're right.
Yeah.
We did trade. We did interact, and we had a very trusting relationship. And you do the math. You know, you do the math.
Yeah.
Guns, you know, hunters, and so you know, so really, really good point. And I hope whoever's listening out there really takes this in. Not that we're right, but I think a lot of thought and prayer has gone into our research, you know, and
Right. And yeah, and there's also downloads they give you where you just have a knowing. Like you just like I talk about them and they did some of the stuff they didn't tell me, but I just know it, right? So and I lost my point of thought. What was I going to say? Anyway, go ahead, Barry. It'll come back.
No, I think I made my point that the the important thing for us was to do it the right way, you know. We don't, again, treat it like, hey, let's go find a Sasquatch. Let's go see if we can, you know, see a Sitonga. For us, it was more meaningful. There was a mission. This humility to ask God, despite what the world thinks, you know, because I think you're right. Society, you know, look around, there's a pandemic, and it's because we're so far from God.
There you go.
We took ourselves away. We you know, I hear all the time that we took God out of our schools, and you know, I agree with that, you know. So it was important for us to get back to that. And what better way to do it than to say, hey, God, you know, are these people real? And if they are, you know, I'd like to know more. Can you help us? Simple as that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have, you know, a magic formula. And I'll make this note that I haven't really, I heard a relative in our community say, oh, I hate that when people monetize these things. Well, I don't think that's in my heart, you know. Not that money's a bad thing, you know. I think, as we know, it's just how you use it. So for us, the research, this journey has been nothing short of amazing.
Absolutely. Like it's totally changed me. Like, I mean, yeah, once you feel that love connection and that energy and that connection to everything, God, the universe, what they introduce you to, you're going to be changed. You just can't help it.
Yep, the goodness of it all.
You can't, there's no going back. So I know what I was going to say. My point is like in British Columbia, the First Nations people up here, they just say that when they talk about the Sasquatch, they just say they were just big First Nations people or big Indians, whatever. I don't like that word so much, but they were just like brothers, but just a big tribe of Indians is how they describe them, right?
That is so true.
We call them our brother.
Well, if you feel them in your heart, like I know you have, and like I have,
Yeah, because I call them
you know that they are your, that they are your brothers. I mean, you know, they can reduce you to tears with the love they give you, and just like the drop of a hat. Like I've literally drove into my area and just been like just weeping because they hit me up with this loving energy, and it the way I describe it is it's loving, but it's also there's a knowing with that energy. It's a feeling of connection. It's a feeling of connection to everything. So it's, yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing people.
Barry, do you have and Linda, do you have any interactions in their house? Like, even though I don't go in the woods, I've had them like knock on my door. I've had them throw rocks on my roof and make owl calls, and you know, over the years. But still, you know, it doesn't matter that I'm living in the city. You know, you ever come to your house and give you a little sign? Sometimes I've had footprints put in the grass right outside my where I was staying, and I've had stick glyphs. You know.
Yeah, I've had, you know, I was told about that, but when you experience it, one looked in our living room window at my son and his wife, and one of my granddaughters was in the where you put your babies. I can't remember the name. Yeah,
crib.
And so he saw the silhouette, and like anything, I've learned that they understand, you know, they understand you. So I went out, and I wasn't too happy about that, but then at the same time, I had to understand that, well, you know, I went to their living room, so they came to mine. And so the next night I went out and I asked them not to do that anymore, and never had that problem again. Michael or Frank Oliver Beans.
See, and that's the same thing here. Like, I'm going to show you guys. There's the tree I was talking about. They knocked it down.
Yeah.
So then I've had, there's a log up on top of the roof of the house here. Barry seen that. But just different things. And then one time I was out with Barry, and we called it for the night. Then when I got home, on my front porch steps, there was a big long limb with trees, leaves all over it. So that was pretty awesome to find something like that when I came in. But yeah, they come around.
Yeah, rocks and feathers, sometimes little gifts like that.
Yeah.
My girlfriend just told me I'm too loud too. How am I sounding now? Is it any better?
You're just a loud talker, that's all.
Just why don't you try backing up into the next room?
I'll just go to the woods and I'll do mind speak with, carry the conversation on that way with you. I don't know what the problem is. I turned my volume down in the computer.
It sounds better now.
Oh,
It sounds nice now.
oh, my girlfriend said yay, so I guess we're good. Okay, I guess we're good. So yeah, what was I going to say? She threw me off on my question now. Come up with something, Mr. Beans, while I think of it.
I want to thank the Sasquatch people who are giving us all encouragement and are keeping this pork and bean show and everything rolling, because I think it is their wish and their want to reach out to people, to let people know that humanity is not alone on the planet, and like the First Nations people say, we're all connected, we're all one. The trees, the air, the water, the rock, we're all one. And that's one of the great messages of the Sasquatch people. And I just wanted to show my appreciation for them, letting us talk and play and make jokes and be serious. Sometimes you got to be serious. This is a real deal. There's some really important going on here.
Well, I think that's the reason why we're all talking, because we want to share. We want to share the love and try to let people consider what we're talking about. Because, like I said, if you get a connection with Sasquatch and it's a teaching connection with Sasquatch, it's going to enhance your life. They're going to connect you further into the to God or the universe, or whatever your interpretation of that is, because they have a higher understanding of that. So
I think it's about walking with honor too. If you're walking with honor, then the Sasquatch will seek you out. There's a lot of people that the Sasquatch seek out, and they're the ones who respect the land, or they take care of animals, or they have a kind heart. They're walking with honor in this world, and they're not out trying to be greedy and grab all they can get, or abuse their dogs or whatever, or whatever,
Yep.
seeking fame and fortune. The people who walk with honor, I feel like the Sasquatch will seek them out if they're,
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. I know what my question was for Barry. So Barry, I've had a lot of experiences with seeing Sasquatch, as owls, like shape shifting into owls, ravens, deer, different birds, even people or whatever. Even actually people. So have you had any experiences with that?
Shape shifting.
I think that's
Well, the
what he
Sasquatch
means.
I mean, the Sasquatch are either seeing through the eyes of the animals, or they're actually shapeshifted into them. Because I've had, like you'll hear an owl talking or whoo, 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 and then all of a sudden you hear it, or something, or sometimes they're just imitating them. But then sometimes they're actually, it's hard to explain, but like there's something going on between them. It's shapeshifting or seeing through their eyes or something.
I've come to believe that one time during our 20-minute encounter, we watched the juvenile come out and he barked like the neighbor, the resident's dog, which just at the time, maybe it don't sound like a big deal, but to actually see it, its mouth and everything bark like the dog that was just barking 5 minutes ago. That told me that there's really this high level of deceivement and that gift they have. I don't know that I've seen them shape shift or anything, but I do know they can mimic, just about
There you
every
go.
animal out there. And including.
Do you remember when we?
Yeah,
were,
I personally,
do you
I
recall
personally
when
believe they can do both.
Go ahead,
Go ahead, Linda Joe. No, go ahead, Linda Joe.
Barry. What about when we were up on Ridge Road? It was about 2:30 in the morning, and we were calling it because somebody was snoring. And when I turned the key on to the truck and the headlights came on, what did you and I see when that was going across the road?
Oh.
I thought it was deer, but
Yeah.
brother told me what they were.
Oh yeah.
They were juveniles,
Yeah.
and they were walking on. They had their hands on the ground, walking across the road and going up on the other side of the ditch, crawling up there. And I said, did I see what I just seen?" And Barry said, "What did you see?" I said, "I seen 2 deer." He goes, "No, those weren't deer. Those are juveniles." I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "It had me fooled. I thought I was looking at deer. They were probably, what would you say, Barry, 30 yards down, 25 yards down?"
Yeah.
But I mean, I've seen like interaction with Sasquatch, and then there was UFOs there, and then there was like spirit birds all at the same time, all like in the same kind of thing and whatever. So,
Brian,
it's
I wanted to share this, and I think you hit on it a little bit. One time we had an expedition, and we decided we were going to do a grand finale the night before, we ended the next day. And it hit me that I needed to pray. And so me and my brother asked my brother Derek to get down on his knees with me, and we were praying next to this big tree. And it was very spiritual because I heard all kinds of birds. And when you said something about birds, and nobody else there, at least
I remember that.
Yeah, and nobody else there could hear it but me and Derek. And in fact, it was so intense, I had to stop my prayer and look up, because as I was praying, I could feel these wings, like just huge wings.
Big wings, yeah.
And I had to look up because I thought, man, is this bird gonna grab me and drag me away? And then all of a sudden, it just sounded like a jungle. But it was all birds. So that's something, obviously it was spiritual, but I never quite wrapped my head around that experience of birds everywhere.
Well, you know why? Your clan.
Yeah, you're right. Lots of the bird clan.
Same as me, because I heard them too.
Yeah.
Spraying with.
Yeah, that was wild. I'm not sure if I had.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
What, Linda Joe? You had a question?
No, I just said that was amazing.
Oh, I thought you said Brian something, and then.
No, I said it was wild.
Okay.
It was amazing.
Oh, can I share a story of a beautiful story that I experienced with ravens and Sasquatch? This is an example of this. What we're talking about. Well, my girlfriend and I were staying 5 or 6 miles by a creek, way off in the woods, like in British Columbia here. In my clan's home, we go there all the time, and just had the experiences there have just been like phenomenal. But one day we went there, and this pair of ravens were hanging around with us the whole 3 days. I think we were there, watching us, and they were just like, we could see them walking around, watching us, the other side of the shore. They were watching us from the trees on the other side, talking and whatever with us and stuff. And so, I mean, talking like with their language. I'm not talking about Mindspeak or something. I mean, just literally with all the different beautiful sounds they make. Ravens are my favorite birds. But anyway, so we're sitting there, and there was a little sandy spot where Sue, my girlfriend, and I put our blankets down. And we had just put them down. We had just put the blankets down, and they were maybe 6 inches apart. And so imagine just putting the blankets down. There could be nothing on top of that blanket unless it was put there after it was put down, right? Makes sense. So we're just there for a few minutes, and I looked down beside me, and there was one of their friendship welcome X's, like a glyph, partially right on my blanket. And, you know, like from my experience, and I've kind of proven it to myself, the glyphs have a personal meaning for you if they're teaching you through them. So the X to me is welcome friendship and a sign of, you know, acceptance or whatever. So there was that glyph right on my blanket, halfway on my blanket. So the only explanation was it was placed there after we laid it down. There's no other explanation. So the Sasquatch were there interacting with us. And then just after we saw that, we saw the raven who was watching us from just across the creek, sitting in a tree. He flew right over top of our heads, right directly over top of us. And then I had a feeling that I had to go back to the fire. Something told me I have to go back there. And so this was only maybe 20 yards away or something. So I walked back to where the fire was, and there was where we had stacked all our wood for the fire for the night, was a single raven feather there. A beautiful raven feather was left there, and guaranteed it was not there before. It was put there or something to do with that bird flying right overhead. So then my girlfriend and I, we decided, let's take some pictures of it. So she took about 3 pictures of the woodpile with the raven feather there, and I took, I think, a couple. And later that night, Sue said, let's check the pictures out. So, and this has happened to me before, by the way. I've had this happen 3 or 4 times. But she said, let's check the picture out. And she looked on her camera, and all 3 of her pictures of the feather and the woodpile were gone. They were removed from her camera, but every other picture was on there. And then she suggested, well, let's look at mine. And I kind of said, I bet you mine's gone too. And so I looked, and they took them off of my camera as well. So.
Hey, Barry, tell your story of seeing a shage and the picture that you put on the page.
Yeah.
Is Barry? Oh, he's still here.
Can you, what was that again, Linda?
It's like, tell your picture of when you guys seen a shage. When it said, you're my dad's helper.
Okay, I'm not, I guess, tell my picture, what now, Linda?
Okay, you know the picture that you put on the page just recently of a shage?
Oh, yeah.
Tell that story. This will get them to understand, I guess, or help them to.
Was that after you shook hands that one time? Is that the one?
No, this was different.
This was the same 20-minute encounter. Want me just to tell that story, Linda?
Yeah, please.
Oh, yeah, well, I say 20 minutes, but it was more like 40 minutes. And I think that was the whole lesson, or the whole motive, I would say, was based on, you know, who are you guys, you know, and can you, the message I got from him is can you pray for me? And it was almost as if he was saying, can you help me? And I never understood, you know, and I guess I do now, but it was more of a approach of, you know, can you help me? And it was, this curiosity was so strong that he came up, and in fact, he was so determined. Even my cousin and my niece agreed that while he was looking at us, that his whole purpose, and I didn't say this to maybe sound like he was there to see me, you know. I said it because it actually happened. He tilted his head to say, where's Barry at? And they all agreed. Later on, I said, hey guys, I didn't mean to, sound like to put myself above you guys. And they both replied by saying, I agree. And they both agreed that, yeah, Barry. And my niece said he was there to see you. And that just was kind of at the time blew my mind, because that's exactly what I felt. It kind of was almost freaked me out a little bit, and so anyway, I don't know if that's what Linda wanted me to convey, but that was in fact, as I play the video, I can recall every bit of it. In fact, he erased himself, by what is that, counterclockwise, eye rotation, and he wasn't on the video. If he didn't do that, I think we would probably have, based on the closeness, we would probably have some of the greatest, clearest footage, because that's what I thought. I thought we were going to have, this video that was undeniably close, clear, whatever. But that didn't happen. He did allow us to get him walking off, toward the tree. So, that was, again, I don't see Linda on here, but that's what I'd like, I'd share. So I don't know if that was the thing she wanted me to share.
Cindy Lark asked a question for you, Barry. She said, are you ever afraid?
Am I ever afraid? I've been asked that question over the years, and I think honestly, maybe at the start, maybe I was, but after I realized that they're not here, they've been, what I would say, commissioned not to physically hurt us. And that, I believe, that's a covenant they made and that God bestowed upon them. And so, having said that, I'm not afraid. And I think my sister Linda can verify that, and probably make a response to that it's always so, a spiritual mode that there's no time to be afraid.
Yeah. We get out there.
I feel the same way too.
And we bring people out, and that's the first thing he tells everybody. He tells everybody, don't run. You'll get scared. You'll feel like you want to run. Don't run. Just stay within the group. And I don't know, they've trusted him so much to where, I'm pretty proud of the people that have come out with us and shown an interest that to where they don't run.
Yeah, I agree with what Barry said about the, about you said a covenant. Did you say?
Yeah.
About a commission not to hurt us or whatever. But I also think that also there, I can't find any fault with that, but I also think it's because of the fact that they are on a higher vibration and understanding that they are that's just who they are. They feel the connection to everything and God and stuff. So they've got that in their heart. So it's not in their nature to hurt us.
Thank you.
Either.
I'm glad you said that, because I've asked that question a long time ago, I had one come out And I always call it the Stevie Wonder. Now, in my, in my, I would say, I don't want to say res talk, but he came out and this was a bad boy. This was a bad dude, man. And which told me that they do have their own wars and their own battles, because how else, where else, or why would he come out, ready to do battle, and as his head was going this way, he was in a crouch stance. And this was a easy 8-footer. And he stared us down. Derek was there. There was about 5 of us there. But it taught me that in their world, they have to defend themselves. And maybe at that time, I believe he was trying to, he was curious. He wanted to know, who is this guy? Because I'd never seen this guy before. And I will say this, that he was probably every bit the look of the beef jerky. Whoever made, that costume, that fur, the way it fluffs. Yeah, that was an exact, maybe not exact, the face was different. And the cool thing about him was he had what I would call, that resembled LED lights on his body.
Wow.
Which meant a higher being, as Frank Oliver Beans, I think, mentioned earlier, that there was a higher being. And those lights, everything blew me away, because I always describe him as that Conan the comic, that his hair, and he didn't have that style of hair, but he was what I would call, and I kind of chuckle about it, but I described him one time as being maybe the alpha male, because he was a good looking, I mean, that fur was well kept, so the question I ask myself is, does he stink? Do they stink? I hear that a lot, but I didn't smell anything. And I was probably 20 yards from him, 25, as he stood up on this bank looking down at me. And every little movement, his hair was just looked soft, and he was light tan. So just a beautiful person. And then when the female came out, and she was probably just as clean and beautiful as he was, if there's such a thing. I have yet to have anybody tell me this, but every encounter that I had, their mouths are open. And I think that has to do with, their respiratory system, or how they breathe. Because every one of them, their mouth, and you always see the lower canine, and they're like dogs. They have two canines on the end. And so,
from my experience, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wave the question back to you.
Oh, okay. As far as it, I love you, man. You're the best. No, seriously, you feel like a brother. But wow, that's beautiful. But I think with the smell thing, I think that in some cases it's kind of like with my experience, it's always been like to let me know they're there. Like they just give you that little whiff to let you know they're there. Oh, okay, there they are. Because there's no smell like it, right? Even though they're different. And actually, the females, I've smelt a very strong, floral, beautiful perfume smell, like a flowery perfume smell. One time, so strong, my eyes, nose, and throat were burning. But I think that they can turn that smell off and on, or I suspect they can, because. And with me, it's just sort of like, hi, we're here. Just kind of like the same thing when they throw a rock in front of you. Hi, we're here. That kind of thing.
Again, thank you, Brian, because I think you know, I think you're hitting on areas that really trigger a lot for me. And as I recall, you know, she leaned up against him, and you know, I'll say it again. I think any wrong move, you know, he was probably ready to react, and who knows what would have happened if our intentions were, you know, in the right frame of mind, so to speak. But he she actually, and what was cool about it is she was appreciative of the prayer that was being offered. The same time, she put her whole weight on him. Like, obviously they were, you know, man and wife, so to speak. But she put all her weight on him, and being so big and strong that it didn't bother him at all. And she actually rested the back of her head on his shoulder and actually turned to look at me. I looked right at her, and it was almost as if she was saying, you know, thank you for praying for us.
Yeah.
One of my top 3
Yeah.
encounters.
Yeah.
And
They are so compassionate and loving and caring. Like when, you know, like when my mother died, they left like glyphs, like immediately. As soon as I found out, I walked outside and I said, I got to go to the woods. And there was a glyph there right by my car right in town. And then the next day there was another glyph, and it was pointing right to where they live. They are such loving and compassion. They show love for the people they're connected to. You know, they always seem to come through emotion, you know, and when needed. So I wanted to ask you about time loss. Anything, you know, had any experiences with that?
time lost.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, like my First Nations friend and myself, many a time we've gone, like we'll go somewhere and it's 20 minutes in, and then we'll go back and it seems like it's 5 minutes out. I remember one time we were walking uphill and it felt like we were going downhill. I mean, just, and then getting zapped with this loving, just bizarre stuff. And like, you know, and just, yeah, like time loss, like just, the time frame doesn't fit our 3D linear understanding of it. Like you know, it's, for instance, this Randy Brisson guy and myself, him and another guy went in the woods one time, and then when they came out, they thought it was like 5:30 at night or whatever. But when they got home, it was like dark, completely dark. This is like in the summertime, so it shouldn't have been dark. And then they both checked their watches, and their watches had both stopped like at the exact same time, but it was like 3 hours before they checked them, right? So yeah, time loss. I mean, they obviously they don't follow the parameters of time like we do.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't exist.
Great question, Brian, because I remember, you know, it being 40 minutes, but I always cut it down just because I didn't want people to think, oh my God, you know, this guy's telling the story. So I always say 20. But saying that,
yeah,
during that encounter, I can tell you that time before I knew it, it was 3 hours later, and I was at home drained, and I couldn't sleep. I was maybe in shock, and I literally called the cops again to make them take me back out there. And I literally walked that area just because and by then it was 4 o'clock in the morning when we went out at 30. So, you know, if that's time lapse or whatever, however you describe that.
Yeah.
That time seemed to just speed up, and I call it the energy that I felt, the electromagnetic energy there that they give off was very powerful. I have yet to kind of connect them to the UFO, but I do know that they give off an energy that you know, they could probably do a lot more than zap you, you know. So there's
Yeah. Can I share? Yeah, yeah. Can I share another story with you? Because you might, hopefully you'll like it, and you know, like when I tell my stories or you tell your stories or other people, um, you see the similarities, and you know, like there's so much uh,
appreciate
commonalities.
that about you, Brian.
Yeah, yeah. And this also, I got a very, very good answer with this too. A very good answer, something I was thinking about, and I got my answer that day. So my friend Randy Brisson and I, you should make friends with this guy. He's a beautiful person, man. He actually he's Lakota. Lakota. He lives up in British Columbia here, but he's Lakota, and he's actually connected to some of the. I can't. I don't really want to say who, but I don't really want to say who he's connected to. It's kind of like I don't think I'm supposed to say that, but he's got connection with some high people in the Lakota history and whatever. But one day we were coming back from going way, way deep in the mountains, and we stopped at this little. It was a demonstration uh, place or whatever where they had lumber displays or I don't know what they did there, but basically it was a bunch of big like telephone pole like beams with a metal roof on top, a big metal roof, and it was quite big. And we thought, well, we'll go and rest there, and we've had interaction there before too. So, and it's just a good place to sit for a while. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, Randy started hearing them doing some stuff, and then I got that third eye kind of thing, like you know, I could feel that they were around. You know, like just that energy, and like I gotta admit, like I never exaggerate, so my hearing is not that good, so I didn't hear them, but you know, he did hear them. So anyway, so I'm getting the energy, and then all of a sudden we started having. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, no. All of a sudden, off the roof of the big tin roof, like bang, like a big rock, like boom, you know. And then they did that about 6 or 7 times, and then Randy could hear them walking around us. He could actually hear them walking around us, and we could smell them a little bit, or maybe I'm not sure about the smelling part. I'm not going to say that for sure, but he could hear them walking around us, and then him and I were like standing side by side, like, you know, right close together. All of a sudden, a little rock came looping over our heads and landed right at our feet. And so I got that answer. Like, it was like, okay, he heard them walking around. Then a little rock is so accurate. And I was thinking the accuracy thing is sometimes it's because they're right there, right behind you or whatever. Like, I'm sure the guy was right behind us and he just went doink with the rock, you know, like right over top of us, and we both saw it arch to the ground. And actually, that was also the day where we saw the UFO. When all this was going on, we saw the UFO fly into the clouds just above us as all this was happening. And then there was also a spirit bird there too. That was you know what I mean. You just have that. You just know because of the way they act, the way they're watching you, whatever. It was a red-tailed hawk. And it flew right over top of us, and then it went a short distance away just on the other side of us and watched us as well. So all this was going on at the same time. But the answer I got that I always thought, like, how are they so accurate? And sometimes I think it's just because they're right there, and they're just like, you know, they just throw it like cloaked from right behind you or right beside you or whatever.
Yeah, I had my brother had a haunted trail during Halloween, and he does that every year, and he never seems to learn, you know. And he had my cousin Fat Boy Elby. He had to dress up in the Bigfoot costume, and boy, was that a big mistake. The Sasquatch challenged him while he was, you know, scaring kids coming by, and he said, "Man, I heard big growl, he said, that just hurt my chest, and I had my back to it. And he said, so he turned around and with his own pride said, who the hell is that? You know, responded negatively back. And he said, suddenly he saw it appear. It must have been 30 yards back. He said it actually knocked over, with one swipe, it knocked over a smaller tree. While it knocked it over, it scooped it up and it landed about 5 feet, bouncing. And Elvie had a Bigfoot costume on.
Yeah.
So,
he was probably showing disrespect by scaring the kids while he was impersonating them. I bet you they didn't like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Brian, but I think you hit it right on the head, because we often tried to say, you know, what was up with that, you know? But your description of that was just perfect, because some guys teased him, said, you know, maybe it thought you were in heat, or maybe it thought you were female. Oh my God! But I think your description of that, Brian, was right on, because it did not appreciate, you know, Elvie at the time, and it literally made the whole kids were there paying money to come through, I guess. I wasn't there, but it definitely, you know, wasn't pleased, and everybody hightailed it. When they saw,
well, I mean, when Christ, yeah, go ahead.
When they saw Elvie running, everybody, all the workers in different locations, and that place is already haunted, you know, and so
Yeah.
just chaos. Kids were running, kids were screaming. And the Sitonga let him know that I'm a whoop you, man. You know, very aggressive. So I always tell him, you know, you need to tell that story, and then I'm always telling it for him.
Yep.
But anyway,
yeah.
But
I think that you would. I think you would know this, and I feel it too. I think when they have a connection with you and you represent them like you obviously do, I do, and that they don't really let you stray too far off the truth. You got to trust what you're saying, you know, because they've given you downloads of the information, and then you're just speaking it as, you know. So, yeah, I mean, you know what I mean, right? I mean, if they're working with you, like any great teacher or whatever, you're going to be speaking that truth, and you can be confident that you are. If it's really like without an ego agenda, from the heart, and it's a true connection kind of thing. So that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Because when I was writing my book, which I'm too lazy to put out because I'm very good at writing, but I'm very bad at organizing. So it's been sitting on the shelf for a year and a half or whatever, but it will come out. But when I was writing it, you know, they're writing it with me. You know, they're right there, like my clan leader. I call him my co-author. They're right there making sure that, you know, it's truth. And yeah, it's really beautiful, really beautiful. That's when I don't have anything to say. I say it's really beautiful.
That's the questions.
Yeah.
There's this thing about the ET, you know, the star people, and then the SASQUATCH people, and then the American Indian people. So my question is there any in both of y'all, you know, y'all experience? Have you ever seen lights in the sky, or lights in the woods, or you know, something that look like because some people will actually see. They'll see a Sasquatch in the woods, and then they'll look over and they'll see this little you know, star people, you know, the ET people, like poking their head around too. So I'm just wondering if there's or even the orbs. So you know, sometimes that people say that the Sasquatch can turn into these orb beings and float around, and so I just wanted to see if any of those kind of things have happened in all your time being out there.
Barry, tell about when you guys first came down here. You, Brennan, Derek. I fed you guys, then we went down to the creek turn. Then we seen that tan female down there. Well, Brennan spotted it, then I seen it, and then you and Derek went running towards the creek, and I told you to stop because there's a creek there. You guys come to a short stop, and then what happened after that? I think you could answer his question. What did you see in the sky?
Oh yeah. What I thought was a flying saucer. Is that what you're getting at, Linda?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw a what later on, because I didn't understand it fully, but I swear to God now that Linda brought that up, that I saw a portal. At the same time, it looked like a kind of I had the correct geometry for it, but it looked like a little spaceship with doors, and it was light green, and that was my best description of it. So I Brian, I can relate to that because it just appeared out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't have been bigger than my screen here, but it was doing something. Something was happening, and what blew me away even more was something came flying from the other side of the road, which was obviously 60, 80 yards easy. Maybe that's getting a little too deep, but about 80 yards, and the force of that object thrown, and you're talking it through trees, and so you could hear this crashing, and it landed like 20 feet from us.
Yep.
What in the hell just threw that? It didn't come right up on the road, which would have been 30 yards from us, but it came from the other side, and I believe there's a creek on the other side, but the force of that, for some person to just be out there at 2 o'clock in the morning throwing a rock or whatever it was, but the force of that was just incredible. I mean, it probably broke branches and everything else before it reached us. That doesn't sound like something too miraculous, but you had to be there to really feel and experience that. And accuracy, I mean, that could have hit me in the head. It could have hit any one of us in the head, but the accuracy to get our attention, to me, that physical force was just amazing.
I want to tell you I won't do it now, but I'm not sure if I'm in your Res Sasquatch group, but I got to join it. I'm not in very many groups because I do the Pork and Bean show. I got a YouTube thing and all this, and plus I like to keep my experiences pure and whatever too. So, but I want to join your group. I want to tell you that fire. Well, sure, a bunch of stories with you, but yeah, that fire story. I had a great big beam of light come down from the sky, and it was interacting with us. But I won't get into it now. But so much. Oh, I wanted to share a story with you though that was really cool with a friend of mine who I introduced to Sasquatch to, and then he started having his own experiences. Him and his girlfriend were camping in one of my favorite spots. This is really a quick story, but it's just very neat. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, which is around the time when a lot of stuff happens. It seems to be the time. And so they're sitting around their camp way out in the wilderness with a fire and whatever, and they felt an owl fly right over top of them, and they could even feel the wings that was so close, or hear them or whatever. And it went whoo, 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 whoo. But as it went up this valley, it morphed. The sound morphed into like a coyote, and like 3 or 4 different animal sounds, like really different, distinct. It morphed into as it went further along, and I think the last one they said sounded like 2 coyotes fighting or something. But like that's crazy incredible.
Let me, Brian, I appreciate your insights because they trigger a lot of my own memories. And the coolest
Yeah.
one I
You-
heard.
hold on a second. That's why I interrupt everybody all the time, because it triggers all these memories, right? It's hard not to, because they're all such great experiences that
Um,
that's what, yeah.
I read
I
your
Go
thought
book.
ahead,
because
go
you
ahead.
had no self-control. I thought that's what it was.
Well, no, I haven't gone to I haven't gone to the bathroom the whole time.
I was making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. It was good. It's
Well,
delicious.
you're weak. You're weak, Beans. You're a weak person.
I couldn't do it.
Hey, I just got done cutting me some pork loin that was barbecued yesterday, so I must be weak too. I was hungry.
Yeah.
You know that this?
I have a good
Do
question
you
though.
know that this guy? Hold on a second. I'm gonna call you out. This
Be
guy,
quiet. I'm not going to say
this,
anything.
this guy tried to
Trevor,
make the
I'm
show a
not.
half an hour
Be
long.
quiet. You can just go ahead. We're 2 hours and 22 minutes.
Yeah, we're
Good.
going to stop at 12. This is too good a conversation to, like I said, our new rule is 2 to 3 hours. Now, this is too good to cut it off right yet. But this guy tried to sell our show. He tried to make it a half an hour. You believe that? I call him the nefarious Mr. Beans now.
I was giving people options: 1 hour, half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and and somebody voted to make it 24 hours.
What was the other one? Lethal injection? Put us to sleep or something, or something like that.
No one was, should be banned for insulting humanity,
Yeah, crimes against humanity.
crimes against
Yeah.
humanity.
And,
But here's a
right.
question. That was a serious question.
Let me,
And this is probably one of the most important, I think, revealing questions. And you may not be able to answer this, but in a way, you and your res squatching team have transformed, have impacted your whole tribe. And I just wanted to ask you if you noticed a difference in people's lives. Are they, because so many people have been touched and you have been touched. There's the before and then there's the after. Can you talk about that? And maybe some people got afraid and they're afraid they don't want to go in the woods, but other people had other changes. So could you talk about how your whole tribe, your whole circle of friends and family has changed because of this?
great point, great question. Beans, when we started
17
out,
shows in, and he finally got a good one. Yeah. His first good question in 17 shows. Go ahead, Barry. Sorry.
when we first started out, it was kind of considered taboo, and so we had to deal with a little bit of resistance, But I think as we told our story using the media, or even on our page, I think more and more people today now, understand what it's really about for us. And I'll say it again that our journey was purely based on, God's answers, and I think today means that people really respect what we do now, and knowing that it's respectful, it's humble, and I'll go back to those three foundational principles. And today,
Yeah.
I think people embrace us for what we've done, because asking God about, I think when people are afraid of something they don't understand, it's easy to say, stay away from it, it might hurt you,
Yeah.
But I think we crossed that, we knocked that barrier down by saying, whoa, wait a minute. I don't think God put anything on this earth for us to stay away from it. Now, we might not understand animals, and there's animals we have to stay away from, but I knew in my heart that this journey had to take place, and that through God, He was going to help us understand them more. And so, has it changed people? Well, absolutely. I think people see it, and in fact, the impact has been affected groups, individuals around the world. How do I know that? They tell me.
Yeah.
It's flattering, humbling, but people have said that res watching have taught me so much. And to me, that's gratifying. So not only locally, beings, but internationally, I think it's been, that, and I love what the quote one time, he says, Barry, you guys are the feel-good story of the Squatch world, and I'll take that to my grave, and so, yes, the impact has been worth the journey. That makes sense. Absolutely.
I'm getting the good energy, so you're speaking the truth. When you speak with humility and from your heart, like you do, Barry, people are more apt to listen and without ego, because there's not a lot of ego with you, and as like because of you're on a higher vibration generally of like no judgment, whatever. So I mean, when you're speaking with no ego and you're speaking honestly and you're speaking from your heart, that makes a huge difference as to how people perceive it and how they listen and whatever, and the other thing is I wanted to add is at this point, I mean, I just tell, like you do, I just tell my story, share my experiences, and the people who are supposed to understand it and get it do. And I don't care about proving anything to anybody anymore. Because like I figured it out. Because I think when I was trying to argue with people, like not argue in a bad way, but carry on that, well, like, what about this and what about that? And you were having that ongoing back and forth argument. It's because at that point, I believed in them, the Sasquatch, but I didn't know for sure. But once you know for sure, and once they connect with you and once they're in your heart, then it's not really all that important who believes it. It's important that the right people you connect with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your elders in your tribe. What did the elders in your tribe say? Well, didn't they say something to you about how you are one of the first people that have brought an Indian tribe back into relations with the forest people? Isn't that what that? To me, that's a major turning point for all the Indian nations, to have at least one nation that is now seen as reconnected to the forest people.
Thank you. I had a grandma that I where, as I heard earlier, that we're all connected, and within our people, we're all there's that big family relationships. And she told me one time, she said, grandson, come here, she said. And I turned and I said, uh-oh, I haven't had this conversation, or, uh-oh, what's going on here? And I said, yeah, what, Berton, I said, what's the matter? And she said, so we had a long discussion about, she wanted to know what I was doing. And I told her, the whole story. I said, it's all about respect, and she's the one also who told me, about all those principles that our people believed in. But she said, grandson, she said, you just reconnected with them, through how our people believed. So,
yeah,
I can't.
That's beautiful, man. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I can't take any credit for this.
No.
So when I say, that I've done some things that I set out to do, and my team, I hope that my team, and I know my sister's listening here, I hope that example, of hanging on, to the spiritual belief and trust and faith in God, that, people will ask me sometimes, what do I need to do, Barry? Is it the gifting? I get those questions all the time, and it gets a little redundant sometimes, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody from reaching out to me, by no means. But I can tell you that I think the message is loud and clear that through God we can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Even be, and I like that quote, the feel-good story of the Bigfoot world. Finally, somebody has, you know, I always say this, crack the code, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm humbled by that, and you know.
Absolutely. I can see you're humble. I mean, yeah. One time I was going to a convention at a casino run by First Nations people. This is really short, and but it was like you know, the ape, you know, BFRO, and what, I'm not going to criticize them, but that's not my belief. But whatever, like 8 people and people who, whatever. It didn't have a spiritual twist to it, right? So I'm headed there, and I was getting like unbelievable energy all the way there. And actually, I was getting a bunch of downloads all the way there too, like really profound ones. But when I got to the convention, like the only part that was really good, like all the speakers were like, sorry, I just weren't my cup of tea. And I think it's a negative energy when you criticize people and talk bad about them. So I'm not going to name names, or it just wasn't my understanding and my interest. But the grandfather, or the chief of that clan, I'm talking about the First Nations people, his grandson got up and started the ceremony, or he did a prayer and talked about the Sasquatch people before the convention started, right? And he was talking about his connection to them and his love for them and the family, and you know, just I could tell he had a real spiritual, he knew what was going on. And all through his speech, I was getting this, like my whole body was tingling with energy, like, oh my Lord. It was just like, they were really loving this. They really loved this guy. And I could feel it, like it was a physical, you know, with that energy. It's like a physical feeling. And I walked up to him after he talked, and I said, man, they sure love you. But they didn't love the rest of it too much. Whatever.
It's 2.5 hours, and what I wanted to do is make sure that
we're going to cut off at 3 at the latest. I mean,
you interrupted me. I'm talking here. I said I want to make sure that both Linda, Joe Free, and Barry Webster have said everything they want to say, and leave nothing on the table. You know, so there's not like, oh, I wish I could have said that. So
hey, that's a bad mistake, Beans. If you asked me that, I'd be here for like months, and I'm sure they would too.
That's why I'm not asking.
Spirit,
because
I mean, then it would be a 24/7 show.
Well, yeah, but I'm just throwing it.
But yeah, but obviously, yeah. We don't have a timetable. If I could even, well, whatever. No, just let's keep going. People are saying they want it to go. I'm getting some comments, so we'll just go how we feel.
But these people have a life. They have kids and stuff, you know.
Yeah, but they can replay it.
No,
right?
I'm saying Barry.
Oh, Barry. Well, no, when they want to go, they can go. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't listen, say what they need to say, and we'll finish when they feel like they're ready to finish. That's what I'm saying, and to not feel like they want to hold anything back.
Yeah.
In other words, guys, we're enjoying the conversation, but if whenever you have to go, feel free. But there's no timetable, kind of thing, right? Is that basically what you said?
No, I say after they go, then you're going to just be here talking to yourself for another couple of hours.
No, I'm headed right to the woods after they go. I'm going to see RE in the bunch. So, what was the best look that you got at, what was the most interesting face you saw, or the best look at one of these beautiful people's face? Can you describe it?
You know,
Describe them like their whole body or whatever, but what did... I mean, some of them look very human, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, great point. I would say probably the best lit up clear one was Ishage when I had the 20-minute encounter. Very deep, sunken eyes. What really was different was the mouth. The mouth stays open. You know, they're not this stoic kind of closed mouth. Sunken eyes. You know, I was just in awe of the flashlight. You know, translucent. The beaming. You know.
Yep.
Very bright, and the nose was you know, I've never seen, and I probably said this before, I'm not sure on here, but never a pushed in nose, you know, never the ape looking kind of nose, always more of a human, as you said, more human.
Yep.
The skin was on Ishage, he almost was, his skin was gray. He obviously had white hair or yeah, white hair, I would say, but kind of rough looking skin, you know, just, he was older. He didn't have no hair on his chest area. However, this was interesting because I could almost see like, which I know, obviously, you know, we could say, well, they got hands, they got feet. Come on, Barry. But I actually almost saw like abs, you know, for an old guy.
Yeah.
On the lower part, I remember just that vividly, that there was abs, you know, ab muscles.
Yeah.
That was kind of shocking to me because obviously, come on, man, he had hand, eye, you know. But the abs part, that was really a defining moment for me.
Like a bodybuilder?
Well,
Look.
He was older. He didn't have that big, you know.
No, what I mean is the abs of a bodybuilder, they're very defined.
Yeah. But
is that what you mean?
Yeah, it was more on the lower part. It wasn't just a six pack, you know.
Yeah.
And then how they moved. The movement was very robotic. The upper body turned to look back at us, and his legs stayed, you know, in the direction he was originally from. So his back was to us, but his body turned, and the arms and everything, you know, turned. That's where the picture, the image on my page is with that was when he turned, and his eyes actually made the robotic noise as they were turning together.
There, she's going back.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Okay. Love you.
Say hi to them. Say hi from the Pork and Bean Show.
Goodbye. That's my daughter. She's from Lincoln.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. No worries, man.
Yeah.
We're low key. Just send the love out there kind of show. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been the smoothest show we've ever had, man. We usually are just a circus of screw ups one after the other. This is great. So yeah, go ahead.
The hands were just huge. You know, I guess my hands are about 8.5 inches long, or you know, my whole hand. I don't have big hands, but I can tell you that they had to have been, you know, just, I couldn't imagine what they could do to our skull, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at the trees that they twist, like, you know, like green trees or whatever. They just twist them into like a pretzel.
So that there's no doubt that's part of their behavior, you know. And
yeah.
The physical abilities they have, you know, to see that up close. So anyway,
It's okay.
I've done a lot of talking. You know, I'll let Linda jump in here.
I just wanted to ask you one thing, though.
I'm listening.
Can I ask you a question? This is, and to me, it doesn't really matter whether what you say yes or no, because it doesn't really matter, because in the big picture of things is with our experiences, we know they exist or whatever. But what's just on for interest sake, what's your opinion of the Patterson film? Is that a real Sasquatch?
You know, I heard a guy say that, I don't make comments on other people's work or evidence, but I would have to say, that was real.
Yeah.
What I've
I can't see how it couldn't be, but
yeah, what I've learned though is that they come in different shapes and forms. They're just like humans. There's no one set.
yeah.
There's a black one that I saw that I thought, what the heck, man? Is that a costume? I mean, it led me to believe that. So I know that they're different.
Yeah.
There's obviously some kind of clan shit. There's different makes, and they travel in families. So they always travel with their young ones, and they're all the same color. Can you believe that?
Yeah. An interesting thing on that is, well, I personally believe that film is real because I just can't see how they could have pulled it off. But,
Well,
and whatever, other reasons. But one interesting point on that is the nose of Patty, that big nose that you can see in that film. I've got a picture of Ari, my clan leader, same nose.
yeah.
It looks identical, the same nose.
Let me,
Yeah.
I kind of got off the question there with my comment.
Oh, I just wondered if you thought it was real or whatever, because that's like on the most rudimentary level of the interest in Sasquatch or whatever, that film is always brought up. So I just wanted your opinion on it. Yeah.
I can't help but say that I talked to some one of the tribal members that lived out there during that time, and there was some interesting points that were made, and so I think that's another time and another topic.
Yeah. Yeah. But basically, you think it was real, legitimate. I do myself. But.
Yeah. I don't doubt that, because as I think back about how he walked away, that angle, how they lift their.
She walked away. Yeah.
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 And I think once you understand the full story, based on some of the tribal members out there, it'll just blow your mind, and I'm not going to get into any other comments about that, but yes.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's a lot of two schools of thought that are completely different, but yeah. But you know what? Knowing the Sasquatch people as we do, in my opinion, I think that film she was there on purpose in a way, because they don't do much stuff by coincidence, and I think that maybe it was like the time is drawing near. We have to reintroduce ourselves into the consciousness of people and start gradually growing from there, because oh man, am I ever getting energy. Just a strong confirmation energy, because, they're here as emissaries of God, the universe, creation, to help raise us up, prepare us for whatever's coming. So I think that film put them back into our consciousness and kind of got that process rolling, in my opinion.
You raised an interesting point, because I think obviously, as you said, there's two trains of thought, but at the same time, when you hear, from the people who are actually living and experienced during that era, you'll be quite surprised. And again, why she was doing that. You know,
Yep.
I don't
Yeah.
think that she just said, you know, hello. You know, there was some extenuating, you know, circumstances at the time.
Okay, okay. Then I could, yeah, but okay. Then I guess I'm wrong
Hmm.
on that.
That wasn't
Felt right
my
though.
intent to prove you wrong, but you know, I think there's more to the story just to be, you know, outright, you know.
Yeah, we'll get into
Yeah,
that another time.
yeah.
Cindy
But
Law had a
but
question.
generally,
I'm sorry.
but
Cindy Law
go
had a
ahead.
question, and I think it's a good question. She says, "Do you guys show your kids at what age, Linda and Barry, would you take them to, would you show the show the Sasquatch to your children?"
You know, I have taken, just as we've gone for rides, I have, you know, I don't have a limit on that. In fact, just the other day, we drove by one of my hot spots and I told my wife to slow down. And she said, why? And I said, just slow down. And I said, this is one of my hot spots. And I grabbed my 2-year-old grandson, who we were babysitting at the time, and I grabbed him and spoke Omaha to him. And not because I planned that, it just happened. But I introduced him to him, you know. And so I don't think there's a time limit. You know, I just think it's, you know, this day and age, you know, there, I think there's no doubt that they exist, and that we have to understand as humans how to coexist, and that I, in fact, they've ran out in front of people, you know, on the
Yeah.
red. And so
Not
to 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 stay in this mindset of, oh, you know, they don't exist. No, I would highly recommend anybody, and I think my people here on our homeland understand that at any moment they've seen him, they've seen
yeah.
them, and so, you know, you might as well introduce them because you know, like you said, you know, they're exposing themselves more and more.
Yeah. Generally, there is a reason for the interaction.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I don't think there's
yeah.
an age, just whatever's appropriate, you know.
Yeah. Actually,
My
being
my
young is probably
granddaughter
best. Go ahead.
my granddaughter um was showing them right around about 2.5, 3 years old, and it was not on my choice to do that. It was on it's just something that happened, and she was outside by herself and at 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. And when I finally caught up to her and picked her up, all she could do was point over there across the creek and say, "Man, man, man, man." And she'd call him that until she got older, and she understands and she knows that they're around. She's
Yeah.
14 now.
See, and she wasn't scared, right?
Not at all.
Or was she? Yeah. You see, like, do you know Arla Williams? Arla Clay Williams? You know the name?
No.
Okay, well, she's a lady from Oklahoma. I guess Cherokee blood and whatever. And you know, as a child, when she was like 5 or 6, a Sasquatch juvenile or a really young one walked right up to her and just stood right in front of her, and they just looked at each other like it was something to do, and then the juvenile just walked away and went into the woods or whatever, just like, you know, like a curious kid or whatever. And she went in the house and asked her mother or grandmother, who knew about Sasquatch and stuff, what was that, grandmother? And her grandmother said, "What do you think it was?" Just to get her, you know how that goes, Barry.
Yeah,
So and she wasn't afraid, and she's had a lifetime of experience with them ever since, you know, to this day. So yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Linda, I'm sorry, Barry, go ahead.
Brian, you had mentioned something earlier, and that is that, you know, times are obviously changing. You know, this day and age, you know, And I believe, and I've read this actually, that during the latter days, so to speak, that we will see things that were extinct come back. And
Giants, they said too, right?
yeah,
Sasquatch could be giants.
yeah, and I think
Well, they are. I mean,
yeah, we're in
13 foot's a giant.
yeah, we're in the
Yeah.
latter days. You know, I know our church and our leaders speak highly of that, and so these things are starting to come out, and I totally agree with that. You know,
Yeah.
so these things will start to reveal themselves in these latter days. So anyway, just wanted to
Well,
make
and of course you're blessed if they are. I've always humility, but I've always just said if you got a connection with Sasquatch and they're teaching you and they're connecting you to, God, your higher self, you very one word that comes to mind is you're very blessed. Blessed is what I think, because it's unbelievable. Well, you know what it's like. You can't even describe it. It's like a transformation,
That
right?
sounds horrible.
Yeah, absolute transformation, like a higher knowing.
It's just
I mean,
horrible. I mean, the song's
they
good,
give
but
you
okay. Here's our
like those
here's our
downloads.
guest.
Like I said, they give you big pieces
Hey,
of the puzzle or
where is
whatever,
he?
Jim
and they
Perry.
take away
He probably
fear.
doesn't have his stuff turned on
There's
yet.
no fear.
There
That's
he
Jim.
huge too. Like in
Oh,
everything,
look
right?
at this
Then
guy,
you can
man. He's
actually
way
do
more
your work or do
professional
what you
than
want to
you,
do when
and
you
you
don't
don't
have
have
fear.
I'm
fear.
jealous.
Like,
Look, I'm jealous. He's got
Look at
like
that,
you're
sir.
eternal. Nothing can
$700
hurt you. So
microphone, and
why
I've
would
got
there be
like
fear,
$100 piece.
right? So it's
Cindy has a
blessing,
question
a
for
blessing.
Cindy has a question for Linda. And the question is, does she still communicate, meaning your granddaughter? Does your granddaughter still communicate or connect with the Sasquatch people?
Yes, she does.
Yes, she does. Yeah.
Can you relate any of one of the cooler ones, or just want to tell us something about it?
No, I can't.
The second question I wanted
Okay.
to ask Linda was, I remember Barry and you telling the story of when Barry shook hands with the Sasquatch and the Sasquatch was invisible. Did you guys talk about that this time? Because I don't know if we just skipped over that, but that was a really amazing story, because your everybody in your research, the people who went out with you, they all saw the outline. That's also. Could you tell that story if you haven't done it already?
He didn't tell it. Remember, we brought it up when we were on before, and Barry said, I'll save it for this show. So go ahead, Barry.
I'll let Linda, because that's probably my best witness. At least
Let's see, I've witnessed a lot of things Barry has done out there. Yep, he's the arm, Barry.
you guys are really close, obviously.
Oh yeah, close enough.
Very close.
Barry will do stuff that you would not believe.
No, I mean, I met very close as the sister and brother, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Barry, is that the one during the expedition, or is that the one where me, you, and Angel?
that was the one at the expedition. Remember, it was my final, so to speak, my curtain call. After all the things that were going on, I felt like it was time to, reel it in and say, you know what, I'm done. We were having some drama with the team. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There was a lot of us out there. There were some young ones, grandchildren. There was a female from BFRO. There was Dennis, myself, Rich, you, Elvie. Dang, I can't remember them all, but anyways, we were down at Old Mission. We just pulled up, and we all finally got in there, and I stayed at the back as usual to make sure that everybody stays in with the group, and I was in prayer. Barry had gone up there to to where the monument was at, and he was explaining to everybody about the old mission. And as we were standing around, like I said, I was staying at the back. Oh, and that's when Igor Burtsev was there too. They were all
Cool. I know Igor. Yeah.
and that's when we were up there, and Barry was calling us to come closer, and I told him, go ahead, come closer. And the kids were asking if it was okay to go up there. Igor came back, and I said, yeah, go up there and support him, stand around him. I said, make sure that you're in prayer and be good. So they did. The grandkids went up there, and that's when Barry was talking, and you could see them. You could see the forms around us. And Albie said he couldn't move. So I put my hand on his shoulder, and he seemed fine. He seemed relaxed, but he said he couldn't move. And then, let's see, Barry was at the front, and that's when he put his hand out, and you could see that form standing in front of him. They were cloaked, and you could see his hand moving upwards and downwards in a shaking motion as if you're shaking hands with somebody. But can you imagine how big their hands are to shake ours? Oh, Lordy, they probably grab us all the way up to the elbow. And that's when Barry said he was going to call it. Anytime he was able to shake his hand, shake Kate's hand, then that was it. He was done. He would let that go, and he wouldn't go out no more.
Barry wouldn't go out anywhere?
Yeah, that's way.
Oh, before that,
Yeah, that's what he
yeah.
was calling his curtain call. If he was
Yeah.
able to shake one of their hands, then he was gonna let it go. He was good. He wasn't gonna squatch no more, and that's the way I felt. I was like, oh no, we're not going out no more. Well, I can deal with it.
Okay, so then Barry, you said if the Sasquatch would shake your hand, you weren't going out no more. So then give us the rest of it, because you obviously went out somewhere.
Would you let Linda finish? What did he look like? What did she actually see? Because was the Sasquatch between you and Barry, or was he behind? Was he behind Barry? And did he? You could see through him, or shimmering, or what kind of cloak did you see?
Okay. What you could see was that we were standing by the monument. I was anyway, between my truck and the monument, and everybody was already standing farther in, and kind of in a circle type deal. Barry was at the front of where the circle was at, and that's where you could see. You could tell they were cloaked. You can see it. I can't explain it until you guys actually see it. It's just something hard to explain.
Is it like Predator? Shimmery, watery?
No, there you go. Yeah.
It is?
Yes.
That's what I've seen that. Yeah, okay. That's cool, yeah. Yeah.
That's when they're cloaked, and they were standing in front of Barry. I seen 3 for sure, maybe a 4th one. But everybody was standing in front of me, so I was still trying to make sure everybody stayed within the group. Don't trail off. Don't go back to the cars. We're all in a group. And that's when I seen Barry doing his thing. He stuck his arm out, or his hand out, and he said he shook hands with him, and that's when he was done, and we come out of there. Go ahead, Barry. You can tell the rest.
That's cool.
Well,
And you know what? Once again, confirmation, because I've seen that. So, I mean, that's why I love these shows, because there's so much collaborative evidence, or I don't even look at it as evidence, so much collaborative love that just enhances our journeys or whatever, you know? So,
Yeah.
so Barry, you were never going back, but what happened?
well, I think the team was there was some clashing of personalities, obviously. And then it just kind of got old for me because I don't think we were on the same page, and people didn't want to be on the same page, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, you know, I took a very management style approach, you know, and we were going to do things as a team, and people were going to be equal in what they did. People were going to carry the weight, and so we weren't aligned. We didn't have the same values, and as much as I tried, and I don't want to use any names, because I think we're past that. It was just part of that learning process. Yeah. But I think the reason was I was tired, and
Yeah.
I felt like I've seen and done just about anything outside of eating with them, and I don't as arrogant, and so I said, well, I challenged our relationship, and I've asked them, I said, if you shake my hand, we can call it. I'll leave you guys alone, as some people may say I bother them. And so all that day it felt good. And I didn't tell the whole team what my intent was. I think I only told Linda. And she was the only one who really knew what was going on. And I think that the gratification I felt as the arm came towards me, you're talking a hand as big as this computer screen. And as it came towards me, I had no choice, because I asked, and I thought, oh my God, is this thing going to go, is it going to touch me? Is it going to go through my body? So I had to literally stop it. And although I couldn't feel him physically, we stopped. He didn't go through me. And what I really wanted to test and prove, because I was asking the team, do you guys see this? And everybody said, yes, we see that. His face, he was shimmery, is what I would call it.
Yeah.
And when we grabbed when I grabbed his hand, he didn't go through me. I couldn't feel him, but I did make 4 times, and his hand stayed right in mine. And then he pulled away, and the cool thing about it is he smiled, like,
wow,
we're good.
Yeah.
To have maybe 8 or 9, 10 people witness that, that was solidifying. It was gratifying. It was, it showed me the respect they had for me. Do that
Yeah.
with me, and you know what? I guess I wasn't afraid to tell that story, because I had 10 people witness that with me. In fact, I'm gonna say this, that Igor, I don't know what happened to him, but I know that I didn't want, Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, but Igor actually, kind of collapsed.
Yeah, he did. He got zapped.
He went to the ground, and I immediately thought, damn, what's going on with him? At the same time, I was, there was 4 or 5 in the background. So in the energy, my body was hurting like all over because of the energy.
Yeah.
And then I hear that Igor went to the ground, and I thought, oh my God, that's all I need is Russian, collapsed on an Indian reservation, but he ended up being fine. He ended up, when we were done, we helped him up, and he walked off on his own power.
Yeah.
was fine, you know. But I'm not sure Igor. He might knew what was happening, but I never did ask him about what happened. But actually, Igor was there, and
I think I heard him talk about it. I think he saw it. I may be wrong.
I think he did too. But just one of again another story about the truthfulness of the many forms they can come in. So when I hear people talk about, wow, anybody who doesn't believe, or anybody who believes that they don't come in different forms, nah, they're absolutely wrong. We've experienced them.
I know Mr. Beans and I have been discussed that many a time. I can think of at least maybe a dozen different ways I've seen them. So yeah, they can orbs, all kinds of different things, like the shimmery glow thing that I've seen that, like you were talking about. It's just lots of different ways. I've even seen an energy trail of, or I haven't. My girlfriend did, of one moving fast between two stumps, and you can see its energy trail trailing behind it. So there's just so much, or different varying ways that they can do that. Yeah. But wait, hold on a second though. But wait a second. Barry, you didn't actually answer my question though, but respectfully, why did you said you were going to quit, but what brought you back? When did you decide you're going to go back and continue your relationship with them?
I've done that a couple of times now.
Yep.
I think the team, and I think just that feeling that no, it's not my time. I'm not supposed to hang this up. At the time, I felt that way. I felt strongly about it. I think a lot of it is my team and their commitment, and I get this feeling of, well, I still need to be there for my team, and a lot of it is just my passion, the things I've experienced. I don't think I could ever, I might step away, or I might need a break, but I don't think that I could ever just walk away.
Right. And you know what, Barry? Hopefully because the team and the teaching stuff is really special. That's really, that's probably what it's all about or whatever. But I mean, even if you didn't have the team, your relationship with them as an individual, I would hope would always continue, right?
Well, what I was going to say, is that this is another historic thing for humanity, and all the people who are doing research and all the people who love Sasquatch. They need to know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Sasquatch can go invisible in several different ways, and that Linda Jo and Barry have proven it. And 10 people saw him do it. I think this is important because that's one of those things. Oh, this is woo or not woo, and I don't believe in all that. Well, when you have 10 people seeing this happen, and they see not just one Sasquatch that's shimmering, but there's 4 others around, come on, that you can't just say that doesn't happen, because it did happen. Oh. And that's why I say it's historic. You can't refute 10 people witnessing it, and they're not the only one. You're not the only ones. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of people see it, but always because one person says, "Oh, I saw it shimmering," and everybody goes, "Oh, yeah, they'll believe that." Well, you can't really stand on that box anymore. Pretty much have to take that into account, that they can go invisible.
Yep.
I've been lucky enough to have my girlfriend with me or Randy Brisson with me, but having 10, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good confirmation. But
also, it's 3 o'clock. It's 3 something. It's 3 hours. Maybe we should try to rewind it down and everybody go back.
Yeah, maybe we'll let Barry and Linda have a final word.
Go something to eat. Maybe take a nap like the old people. Yep. Old people like to take a nap.
Like you?
Well,
no, I'm just joking.
Now you mentioned it, yeah.
Well, he's older than me. I mean, I can say that, right?
Well,
I know, I just kind of mean.
So it works out.
Oh, you're like a Hollywood magnet. Oh, you're a good-looking dude, man. I mean, if I was of that persuasion, I'd be wanting your phone number.
Oh Lord.
Serious, you know. I mean, if I get desperate, I still might ask for it. Okay, Barry and Linda. You know, like I could talk to you guys all day and whatever, and we'll have to do another one. And you know, hook up with you, you know, in your group and stuff, and chat. And also, I want to invite you up here one day, up to British Columbia, if you can ever make it. We'll get you up here somehow. You would pretty spiritual place. I'd like to share it with you. Maybe keep that in mind somewhere down the road.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all these sacred places are special, none above the other. But when you know, your own home and whatever, your own home clan or whatever, you cherish them and you want to share it, right? So,
Yep.
yeah. So do you guys want to close out with anything?
Go ahead, Linda.
Other than I don't have much to say on closing out because I hear gunshots on our land, so I am going to have to step. We live on 80 acres down here, so.
Well, can I say thank you?
I've got it.
Can I say thank you very much for coming, and go and take care of that? Yeah, we really appreciated it. And will you friend me on Facebook? So.
Yeah, just shoot me a friend request, and yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, because I'm friends with your big honcho there, big bro. Okay, yeah.
He's my
thanks for stopping,
brother.
Thanks for stopping in. That was awesome. Yeah.
All right. Later, guys.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, Barry. It's all up to you to end it off with a bang.
Okay.
Literal.
Well, I want to say before you became Pork and Beans, I want to thank both of you, but I also want to thank Michael for being very supportive. I always felt like, you know, and now with you, Brian, you know, that we're all in the same corner, and we all
absolutely
stand with those same beliefs, and despite maybe some of our feelings, initial feelings, you know, that you know, people come together based on those bonds. And I want to say that I really enjoy coming on your show, and I in my own ignorance or whatever, I come to fully understand that other people are having these experiences, and I love it. And
yeah,
I hope that someday, and by the way, I would be more than happy to come back, you know, to speak to you guys. And
we want you back you can come on every week if you want, man. We love you. You are always welcome.
And that the bond, you know, with Michael, I just want him to know that I really appreciate him. And
yeah,
you know, my love for both of you,
yeah,
you know, is just you know, I probably I hope that somebody out there is inspired, you know, because I'm not, you know, that special person. More than I am is I love God, and I humble myself.
Yeah.
True humility, and I'm not saying everybody can have those kind of experiences. That's your journey, you know.
Yeah.
I would encourage anybody to humble themselves and to write in your heart, or in other words, to repent basically, and to be right in God's eyes, because, you know, then I think you're in the right frame of mind, and you'll start to maybe, you know, experience it more. You know, I don't claim to be the man, so to speak, other than, you know, I love God, and God blessed me with some of these encounters. I take no credit for them, and I mean that with all sincerity.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, my heart feels that way too. I know exactly what you mean.
So again, I can't thank you enough. You know, if it's 3 hours, you know, there's still not enough time. You know, we
No.
talk all night.
And you, yeah, oh, absolutely. We will sometime. And you know what? I know your heart feels exactly like this too. Like, and I'm going to make this short, but when I had my gathering last year, whatever, there were a lot of incredible experiences happened. But the best thing for me was sitting back and watching my clan work with all these different people. It just was, because that's the gratifying thing, to share this love, this understanding, this connection with other people is, to me, is the greatest. I feel gratitude for that, and it's the thing that makes me feel the best, more so than my own experiences. You know, because if I can imagine it opening doors for people, their hearts and their minds and their eyes or whatever, then there's nothing better than that.
Brian, I have to say this with regards to your insight. You know, I may have misjudged you just a little bit based on my own feeling, but your insight, you know, I think you and I could sit around a campfire all night and share stories. And I would say this to you, that I would welcome you on my homeland any time of the day, week. And I'd love to squatch with you. So I mean that from my heart.
Well, that's what wow, something in my throat. Thank you, man. And that's why I want you and Linda Joe to come up here too. You know, we'll get you up here somehow. We'll do that when, you know, when things are back to, if things get back to normal, if we're allowed to travel, then you have to do that. Yeah. I appreciate those words.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So, okay, so then on behalf of Port Cunningham and Frank Oliver Beans, thank you for stopping by the Pork and Beans Show, and thank you to Barry Webster and Linda Joe Free. That was, you know, every episode is the best, you know, but this was the best.
And share and comment and do all those kind of things that they tell you you're supposed to do.
What are you? I thought we were going to stop. Are you still talking to me?
I wanted the last say. I want to be the one that has the last say.
All right, guys.
The show's over. Well, say something. Say something. Okay, see you guys.
No, stop the recording. You're good. Bye-bye, everybody. Going through an ascension process, it's gonna hurt.
Yes, it is.
Never been this blue. I never knew the meaning of a heartache. But then again, I've never lost love before. Somewhere down the road, maybe all those years will find some meaning. I just can't think about them now, or live them out anymore. Stand tall, don't you fall. For God's sake, don't go and do something foolish. All you're feeling right now is silly human pride. Oh, stand tall, don't you fall. Ooh, don't do something you might regret later. You're feeling it like everyone. It's silly human pride. never lasted so long. No, hope you so much, hope you so many. I just can't believe I could throw it all away. Sometimes late at night, when there's nothing here except my old piano, I'd almost give my hand, make you see my way. I'm gonna stand tall, oh, don't you fall. Oh, for God's sakes, don't do something foolish. All you're feeling right now is silly human pride. You got me on my knees, oh mama, stand tall.
How about some more beans, Mr. Taggart?
I'd say you've had enough.